Samira Cole grabbed my wrist just before I could seal the payment on the terminal. "Don't seal it," she said. Paige was already on speakerphone, telling me to put my inspection seal on and finish. The wind pushed hard against the trailer walls, making them shake. I had spent the morning on the tower with Samira, checking the blades, then climbed down to do some paperwork. The payment would cover my equipment lease for the month. All I had to do was insert my ID token, look over the summary, and approve it. "Caleb, finish first," Paige said. "We can check the synchronization problem later." I hadn't said anything about synchronization. Samira reached past me and opened the client portal again. There was a finished inspection under my name at a place 700 miles away. The time was 8:17 that morning, but at 8:17, my harness log, tower badge, and Samira's crew sheet showed I was 200 feet up in Oklahoma. The report had my seal, but the ID was from a different token. For a moment, it felt like the trailer lost its shape. The screen was too bright, and Samira looked far away. "Portal delays happen," Paige said. "This isn't a delay," Samira said. "It's a live closure." Then she looked at me, not the phone. "I heard Paige and Victor talking about a trip planned around your route. Check your backup token before you do anything." Paige's voice got sharp. "Samira doesn't handle routing. Do what you were hired to do." My old mentor used to tap above the signature line and say, "Never approve what you haven't checked." It wasn't a fancy saying. It was how you kept a shortcut from becoming a problem for someone else. I looked closer at the distant report. Same name, same number, wrong token, wrong place, same time. "I'm refusing to approve," I said. Paige was quiet for a moment. "If you refuse, I have to mark this as unfinished. You already knew there was an error before I told you. I knew there was a sync problem, but you said that before I opened the other report." Samira stepped back, leaving the choice up to me. I pressed refuse certification and typed one line. Conflicting active seal. Authorship unverified. The payment status changed fast. Pending turned to frozen. Under it appeared a note with Paige's name. Contractor non-performance. That money wasn't just numbers. It was fuel, rent, motel, insurance, gone because I wouldn't claim work I hadn't seen. Paige ended the call. Outside, the wind moved the turbine blades slowly against a clear blue sky. The error stayed on the screen behind me. Samira stood by the road, hands in her jacket pockets, waiting to see if stopping me would cost her too. We sat in my truck with the engine off while dust blew across the road. Samira kept her phone in her hands. "I'll show you one note and part of one message," she said. "Don't share them until I say. I'm not guessing who used your seal." "Understood. And I'm not saying this trip proves the inspection problem." "Understood." She studied me for a moment, deciding if I meant it. Then she opened a note made at 6:18 that morning. It showed a time, a place near the dispatch trailer, and 3 short quotes she wrote after hearing Paige on a call with Victor Hale. Victor was the regional safety director. I'd met him twice, both times where he talked about responsibility like it was his idea. Samira read from her note. Victor had asked if Paige was sure she wanted their first night together to be tied to a work handoff. Paige had said my path gave them cover, and once the distant report ended, they could leave without anyone noticing the empty space. At first, I thought Samira misunderstood. The thought came quickly, like it had been practiced many times before to soften the blow. "Now the message," she said. Paige sent Samira a voice note just after 6 o'clock. The main instructions lasted for 15 seconds, then came some quieter words that Paige probably didn't mean to share. Her voice was softer and turned away from the phone. Caleb would be busy through Friday. The reservation was already made. After the next handoff was complete, she and Victor could stop waiting and make the trip theirs. Samira stopped the recording. The taxi smelled like cold coffee and climbing rope. A grocery store receipt with Paige's handwriting lay in the console next to my spare sunglasses. We were supposed to get married in 4 months. "As far as I know, they hadn't started anything physical yet," Samira said. "They were planning to start during this trip, that's all I heard. Nothing more." I pressed my hands against my knees until the feeling helped me stay steady. "Did you see who used my seal?" I asked. "No." "Do you know what was in the distant report?" "No." "Did you hear them talk about a problem?" "No." Each answer hurt less than the message itself, because it gave the problem a clearer edge. The plan Paige mentioned explained why she needed my route done quickly and why she pushed me to sign before checking carefully. But it didn't prove she or Victor had used the token. It didn't tell me what the false report hid, if anything. Samira locked her phone. There's something else I'm willing to write down, but only after I check exactly what I saw. Not before. I wanted every answer right away. I wanted to call Paige and make her hear herself denying what she'd said. Instead, I asked Samira if I could record that she showed me the note and message willingly, even if I didn't copy the details yet. She agreed. That's when I realized trying to argue with Paige would be useless. The portal could change. Messages could vanish. Memories could be twisted by fear. I had to save the proof before my relationship broke. I parked where the truck's cab blocked the worst sunlight and set my laptop on the steering wheel. My hands wanted to shake, so I gave them small tasks. Plug in the power, turn on the hotspot, open a clean drive, make a file for the evidence. Method had always been the closest thing I had to a guide. Samira stood outside my open door. "Tell me before you take anything from my phone," she said. "I will." I started with the client portal. The distant closure was still active, still under my login, still marked during the time I had been near Samira's tower. I downloaded the available read-only record and saved the portal's confirmation. Then I took a photo of the screen with the current time showing. A screenshot could be questioned. A download might be challenged. Photos could be questioned too. None of it was perfect. But together, saved before access changed, they were better than my angry words said too late. Samira let me photograph the time her note was made, but not the other messages around it. She allowed me to save part of the voice message's ending and watched as I marked the file as given by her, under her permission for formal review. "Don't say I confirmed an affair," she warned. I looked up. "I confirmed plan language. I can't say what happened after." I changed the note. Samira Cole provided a saved message and note about a planned private trip. She did not say she knew anything about what came later. "Better," she said. We walked back to the operations trailer. The handoff terminal still showed that I had refused, and the lockout tag was still attached to the service control board. It was an orange plastic tag with black letters, and the wire seal was unbroken. I took a photo from far away to show where it was, then a closer one to capture its number and that it was still active. The wind made the tag hit the board like a soft tap. Back in my truck, I split my notes into 3 parts. First, what I saw myself. The portal didn't match up. The closing time, the strange token suffix, payment frozen, and the lockout still active. Second, what Samira told me. Paige's recorded travel words and the call she heard with Victor. Third, what I guessed, that the trip might explain why Paige was under pressure and could connect to the token use. It might, but it wasn't certain. That word felt weak compared to what Paige had done, but facts don't need to make me feel better. I numbered every file, wrote down when it was created or received, and noted where the original was kept. Samira changed the time she got to the trailer by 4 minutes. I didn't argue and updated my note. When I finished, the file was small enough to hold my frustration. It also pointed right at me. If someone had used a backup device with my seal, investigators would ask how it left my control. And they should ask. I couldn't ask people to check Paige and Victor closely if I didn't keep my own security clear. The copied suffix was at the top of the list. I closed my laptop and went to find the device it belonged to. My credential case was kept in a numbered cage that I rented near the regional routing office. By afternoon, the clerk had me standing under bright lights while she read every item on the list and watched me open the case. The latches opened smoothly. That made things even worse. Main credential device? There. The current token suffix matched what I had in my pocket. Backup credential device in slot B02. The foam cutout was empty. I stared at the space until the clerk asked if I wanted to stop. No, keep going. No broken parts, no cut seals, no signs someone had forced it open. Whoever took the backup device didn't need to break anything. It had been stored in a black numbered pouch, and its suffix matched the strange one on the distant closure. This meant a physical token was used for that portal event. It just wasn't in my case anymore. The access list had 2 names. Mine covered inspection tools and credential storage. Paige Larkin's name covered routing packets, shipment prep, and emergency job swaps. We set it up this way because I lived in motels a lot and traveled where the internet was often bad. Paige had a good reason to open the case's outer cover. But she didn't have permission to take or give the credential devices to others. That difference mattered. So did the part that was mine. My backup token should have been in a separate locked spot. I kept it in the same case with other routing materials because it was easier when jobs changed fast. Paige knew how to open the case because I trusted her as both my partner in work and life. Trust was not a replacement for secure control, but I used it like one. The clerk took a picture of the empty spot and signed the inventory as a witness. I added the access list, device number, and last checked date to my evidence log. Then I wrote the sentence I most wanted to avoid. Backup credential security was weak because routing access and token storage were not kept separate. I read it twice. It didn't say I let anyone else use my seal. I didn't. It didn't say Paige took the device either. The list couldn't prove that. It only said my control wasn't strong enough to stop it. And that was true. I sent Paige a short message asking if she knew where the backup device was. I didn't blame her or mention Samira's saved recording. I didn't say anything about Victor. The message showed as delivered, but she didn't reply. I opened the form to report the missing device and started filling in the details. The device number, the time it went missing, and the inventory we checked. I thought I was finally making progress. Before I could send the report, my client portal showed a new alert from Paige. I tried to listen for it on the field radio, but the antenna was broken, cutting the weather updates into pieces of noise. Still, Paige's message came through clearly. I read it, confused at how she described me in it. The alert said I was the cause of an operator confusion event. Paige, the routing administrator, reported that I failed to keep track of the backup device, got upset over a normal problem during a check, and refused to hand over control when told to. She said Samira was an outside worker who interrupted the process and made things harder for me. According to Paige, I didn't stop a wrong certification and didn't notice a problem in the system. The alert had been sent 11 minutes before I asked Paige about the missing device. She had acted before I even shared what I found. A message appeared on my screen. Related incident already under review. My report would now be added as a response from me. I called Paige once. She picked up after a few rings. I can't talk about a live case informally, she said. Her words sounded like something from a rule book she usually laughed at. You mentioned Samira before talking to her, I said. She came into a handoff that was paid for, Paige replied. She showed me something signed under my name, I added. And you lost the device that caused it, Paige said firmly. You aren't sure it was me, I pushed back. But I know you had the backup, she said. The radio made a crackling sound between us. Where is it, Paige? I asked. If you have info, put it in the portal, she replied. You reported before I finished the inventory. I reported when the client was at risk. That's my job. I looked at a photo clipped to the truck's folder. Paige had one hand on my chest, her eyes closed against the sun. We looked calm in the picture. Was protecting the client why you told me to sign before checking? I asked. She barely breathed differently. Then the call ended. I couldn't tell if she hung up or if the bad signal dropped the call. I added my small collection of facts to the existing case in the system. It accepted my notes, but Paige's report stayed at the top. Her words shaped the story that followed. My missing device became carelessness. My refusal was written as mental trouble. Samira's role was turned into a personal attack. The real system problem was still there, but I thought it would help me since computers used timestamps and didn't care about feelings. I forgot people decided how to explain those times. Another message appeared. Automatic credential hold initiated. The broken radio kept giving useless weather sounds. I turned it off and sat in the silence, realizing Paige had decided our stories before either of us were officially asked. The notice of suspension came at 6:04 the next morning, in a motel room that smelled like bleach and old carpet. My phone made a soft beep. Provisional credential action. I sat on the bed and read the message until the words stopped blurring together. My active seal was paused while they looked into who really owned it. The system showed two problems. One said someone might have wrongly used my certification, and the other said I didn't control my backup device well enough. One accusation was wrong, the other was true. I opened the contractor portal. The seal icon had turned gray. All the jobs that needed my approval were stopped, even those not linked to Paige's alert. Then the cancellations started. A 3-day job in Kansas was taken off my schedule. Then a follow-up in Nebraska. Then a client in Texas sent a polite message saying they had reassigned next week's work and would think about me again after the investigation. Open invoices changed from processing to compliance hold. I counted them on the motel notepad. The job from yesterday waiting to be handed off, 2 travel reimbursements waiting to be paid, and an inspection invoice already 30 days old. That was enough money to pay the truck, the equipment lease, insurance, and most of the appeal fee. Money I earned before all this trouble. But now, clients could hold it because my seal was seen as untrustworthy. Paige sent a message in the incident chat. The hold is temporary. Working together and keeping a steady story should help us fix it. Us. I typed 3 different replies and then erased them all. The only useful answer I could send was one saying I would keep my records and follow the proper steps. My bank balance was below that message like another warning. It would cover the motel for 4 nights if I didn't touch the money saved for paying people, 6 nights if I stopped eating out. The equipment lease was due Friday, insurance on Monday. The appeal would need official records I didn't have yet and money I wasn't getting. My worry wasn't loud, it was quiet math done too fast. I walked back and forth in the small room, 4 steps each way. The air conditioner clicked on and rattled, blowing cold air around my ankles. Each time my phone lit up, my chest tightened before I looked at the screen. By 9 o'clock, every planned contract for the month was canceled or paused. I had spent 12 years building a job that fit in my truck. Tools, climbing gear, my certificate, and my good name. The tools were rented. My certificate was gray. My reputation now had a warning flagged by the woman I was going to marry. Anger had kept me going at the terminal, but it wasn't enough here. I needed somewhere cheaper than a motel. I needed a stable mailing address, space to organize my papers, and someone who wouldn't give my location to Paige just because of wedding feelings. There was one family member I trusted more than I wanted to admit. I stared at the number, not liking how relieved I felt, and called her. June answered after 2 rings. "Do you want me to come get you? Or do you want an address and no questions until you get here?" I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, but because she already knew what I needed. "The address," I said. "I can drive." "That's what I figured. Let me know if that changes." Her house was at the end of a quiet street lined with bare maple trees. When I pulled in, warm light glowed from the kitchen windows, and she'd left the driveway clear for my truck. She met me at the door holding a metal thermos and a yellow notebook. The thermos made me suspicious. That was the worst part. My sister offered coffee, and my first thought was, she thought I couldn't even make my own. June saw my face. "You can say no to this." "To coffee?" "To all of it." She put the thermos down without pushing it toward me. On the notebook, she had written 6 short lines. The spare room was mine for 30 days, and longer if we both agreed. She wouldn't reach out to Paige, Dad, clients, or anyone at the company without asking me first. She wouldn't open files or touch any evidence. She wouldn't handle my accounts. I could still get a ride if I asked. We could change any rule in writing. "You forgot the part where I give up my truck keys and agree to random reviews." "I thought about that, Cal." "Very comforting. You can be harsh too, just not before I finish eating." That was almost enough to make the kitchen feel normal. Almost. I read the page twice. "What about medical stuff?" June added another rule. "No appointments, calls, or decisions without my okay." "And you're not taking my phone if Paige calls." "I'm not taking anything." "You say that now." "I'm saying it in writing now." Her voice didn't sound hurt. She didn't remind me about clearing storage or buying groceries or taking time off in case I needed a ride the next day. The effort was clear, but she wasn't using it as power. I signed below the rules. June signed too, then gave me a copy. "Your room is ready," she said. "Also, you sent me something yesterday and told me to save it." She opened her laptop and showed me the message I had forwarded before Paige made her complaint. It was my first warning about the portal problem and the missing token issue. June kept the original heading and timestamp. I checked the time. My message had been sent 23 minutes before Paige's alert. "That doesn't prove you were right," June said. "It shows you raised the problem before she claimed you made it up." That difference stayed with me. I took the thermos. Taking it didn't make June my boss. It didn't make me a kid or turn this place into a forever debt. It meant I was tired, my sister had coffee, and for one night I had a door I could close. The timestamp gave me one more thing. A reason to look closer at who found out too much, too soon. The next morning, I stood in June's driveway, the thermos warming one hand, when Victor Hale called. As regional safety director, Victor should have been just a name on an org chart. The complaint wasn't assigned normally yet. The system said the regional review wouldn't get it until noon. He called at 9:16. "Caleb," he said, sounding calm and careful like he was trying to calm a scared dog. "I wanted to get ahead of this operator confusion issue." I stopped by my truck. The public portal called it a credential mismatch. Paige called it operator confusion. Victor shouldn't have known her words yet. "Who sent you the complaint?" "I'm responsible for safety in the region. Things come to me." "Not before assignment." He paused just long enough to hint I was being difficult. I've looked over the key points. You forgot to secure a backup device, got upset over what might be a harmless syncing problem, and refused route directions. Harmless syncing problem, Paige said. Syncing error at the terminal. Her complaint used different words. Victor's phrase sounded like something prepared for future use. You reviewed Samira's statement? I asked. There's no formal statement from Ms. Cole. There's a message from a contractor who seems biased toward your side. She saw the portal. So did you, apparently while upset. The gravel under my boots felt sharp. Victor didn't ask me what happened. He was telling me what counted as happening. My seal closed a job 700 miles away. Your unsupervised token closed it. Be careful about the difference. Do you know who had it? I know people with credentials are responsible for their own devices. His answer sounded like something from the rule book. Rules don't leave clues. Then his voice got softer. This work depends on trust and good word of mouth, Caleb. Workers who turn a simple device problem into big claims make things harder for everyone. Is that meant for me? For you, for Miss Cole, for any team leader who wants to guess. Omar Bell has a good reputation. It would be a shame if he ruined that by making claims without proof. Omar was my team leader at my first site. I hadn't told Victor his name. You've already been making calls. I'm stopping rumors before they start. You called me before the complaint was even in your system. I called as a professional favor. That phrase felt wrong. A favor wasn't supposed to make you nervous. After we hung up, I wrote a new note about the evidence instead of calling back. I wrote down the time, the exact words he used, and details no one else knew. Then, 2 messages arrived. Omar said a regional office asked if he would support Caleb's claims if asked for a reference. Samira's message was shorter. Victor contacted me saying, I won't talk without a record. I had stepped outside, hoping Victor might be fair and keep things safe. By the time I came back to June's kitchen, I had already started 3 folders: company statements, independent records, and things Victor knew before he should have. His warning had reached Samira before I could protect her from it. That night, Samira asked before sending me the messages. I'm saving these no matter what. Do you want copies for your files? I said yes. The first came from Paige through the official incident channel. It said Samira should fix her story to say she saw a charger pouch change hands, not a credential device. Paige said the trip talked about was an industry meeting, not personal travel. The second came from Victor's work email. A different hello. The same 2 claims, charger handoff, industry meeting. One sentence was exactly the same, even the comma. To avoid unnecessary harm to professional reputations, please limit your statement to facts you can prove. Good advice, but it felt sharp coming from someone else. Samira called after I told her I got the messages. I can stand by what I saw and heard. You don't have to answer either of them tonight. I already did. What did you say? No. I looked at the matching words on June's laptop. It showed they might be working together, but that wasn't proof. Victor and Paige could have used the same template. One might have written the message for the other. I wrote down both ideas, but didn't choose the one that felt worse. What do you want me to keep? I asked. Both originals and my refusal. Nothing from our call unless I say it's okay. Understood. After we hung up, Paige's name showed on my phone. I let it ring. Her message came by text, not through the incident system. We need to talk in private. If you keep acting like we are against each other, I can't let you use the LLC account or make decisions about the wedding. Call me without recording so we can protect what's left. Her words pushed and pulled. Protect what's left felt like care. LLC access felt like control. No recording made it clear which was more important. June came into the kitchen and stopped when she saw my screen. Want some company? For a little while. Want me to read it? No. She sat across from me and poured coffee from her thermos. She didn't try to touch my phone. I replied to Paige through the saved incident channel. All future talks about the credential, LLC access, shared property, or wedding duties must happen here. I won't take part in meetings or calls that are not recorded. Her answer came almost right away. This is exactly the kind of unstable behavior people worry about. My hand hovered over the keyboard. I wanted one private fight where Paige sounded like herself again. I wanted her to get mad enough to stop using calm words and just tell me the truth. Instead, I blocked her number from calls and left the official channel open. June slid the shelter agreement across the table. Any changes? I added that she couldn't use or manage the contact channel, even in an emergency, without my okay. We both signed that line. June could give me a room without owning my evidence. Paige couldn't say we were close while asking me to keep secrets. By midnight, Samira's refusals were recorded, my private access was closed, and Paige's next way to reach me was only through money, papers, or family. Dad came on Saturday afternoon without asking if I wanted him there. June opened the door, saw him on the porch, and looked back at me. Should I send him away? No. 10 minutes. She nodded and let him in. Dean Rusk stepped into the living room, bringing the cold weather with him. He didn't take off his jacket. That meant he was here to make a decision, not visit. He looked at the box of printed papers beside me and sighed. Easy, Calamity. There it was. He started calling me Calamity after I spilled paint when I was 9. That name stayed with me through every certificate I earned and every job I finished well. In our family, one childhood mistake was remembered more than 12 years of good work. What do you want, Dad? I want you to stop ruining your life over a simple timing problem. June turned her head. I didn't. I had heard that phrase less than 2 days ago from Victor. Who told you that? No one told me. Then where did you get those exact words? It's common sense. No, it's 6 words Victor said in my driveway. Dad's face tightened. Paige's family is trying to keep this quiet. You should be glad someone still is. Quiet for who? For everyone. Your mother's friends know about the wedding. Deposits have been made. People are asking questions. If you walk away now, the whole family will get caught up in whatever story that technician is telling. Samira isn't telling stories. She's an outsider who stepped into your business. She stopped me from fixing a live problem. And now you're sleeping in your sister's spare room with no work. The same old way of thinking was still there. If something bad happened after I said no, then my saying no caused it. June stood up. That's enough. Dad looked at her. I'm trying to stop him from making another bad choice. No, she said. You're trying to make shame sound worse than real problems. He ignored her and looked at me. Fix this with Paige. Keep the engagement alive. Work with the review. Admit you lost control of the token and stop blaming people who could ruin your career. I already said I lost control of the token. Then why keep fighting? Because I didn't use it. Dad shook his head with tired anger, the look that always made me wonder what I had done wrong. This time, I saw it as proof. He repeated Victor's words. He cared more about the engagement than the credential. And when I asked who spoke to him, he answered a different question. June opened the front door. 10 minutes. Dad left, saying I'd thank him when I realized he was right. I didn't know what made him so urgent. I only knew that his harsh words came with borrowed phrases and hidden reasons. I stopped asking family members about the truth and went back to the one person who was willing to say exactly what she saw and where her knowledge ended. The interview room had plain beige walls, a round table, and a recorder with a red light that made every sound feel important. Before we started, Samira put both hands flat on the table. I agreed to answer questions about the message I sent, the pouch I saw, and the talk I heard myself. I won't answer questions about the distant blade because I wasn't there. I don't know who put on the seal because I didn't see it. I repeated her limits back to her. She agreed, and I started the recorder. I mostly had to sit quietly. That was harder than climbing. Samira confirmed the warning message she sent. She remembered its date, the device she used, and the person who got it. She wrote it while the team was stopped due to regular weather checks. During those pauses, everyone's moves were logged. The message time came before Paige sent the operator confusion alert and before Samira knew the backup slot was empty. Why did you send it? I asked. Because what I heard made the route look planned, and because I saw Victor with a pouch that had a number on it. What number? I remembered the last 4 digits. I wrote them in my notebook before I messaged you. She said the numbers out loud. They matched the missing backup device. My heart raced enough to shift my collar. I wanted to ask if Victor took my token to the far site. Instead, I kept my words open. What did you see Victor do with the pouch? I saw him carry it after talking with Paige. He walked from the routing place toward the regional vehicles. Did you see where he went? No. Did you see him take out the device? No. Did you see him put on Caleb's seal or change the FAR report? No. Each no made me frustrated for a moment, but also made what I knew clearer. Samira wasn't trying to help by guessing or making memories bigger. She was telling the exact limits of what she saw. I asked about Paige's travel talk. Samira confirmed the exact words she remembered. My route would hide the trip, and the private trip would start after the handoff. She wouldn't guess if Paige and Victor really went through with it. It was planned, she said. That's all I can say. When we finished, Samira checked the recording and agreed only the parts she said were true could be shared. Outside the room, I told her, it helps, hearing what you didn't see. It helps the record, she said. If it helps us depends on who needs the record. She left with her copy. I stayed behind, looking at the photo of the inventory along with the 4 numbers she remembered. The token wasn't just a name for a backup slot anymore. It had a numbered pouch, and Victor was seen carrying it. The next question had to find out how it got to him without acting like Samira followed it later. Samira came back the next morning with her maintenance notebook in a clear sleeve. My limit is the transfer, she said before sitting down, not what happened after. I made sure the recorder noted that limit. On the table, I laid out the photos from the credential case, showing all the numbered pouches and their slots. I didn't tell her which one was missing. She looked silently at each photo. This one, she said. She pointed to the dark pouch that matched my backup device. A light scratch marked the lower corner of the pouch, and the ID strip ended with the 4 numbers she had recorded during the weather delay. How do you recognize it? I asked. By the number, the worn corner, and the orange pull tab. I saw it close enough to read the strip. Who had it when you first saw it? Paige. The room seemed to close in when she said that name. Samira kept looking at the photo. Paige was near the routing cabinets with Victor. She said Caleb's route gave them cover through the handoff window. They talked about leaving separately and meeting later. Then Paige put the pouch in Victor's hand. Did she say what was inside? No. Did she say he had permission to use my credential? No. Did you see Victor open it? No. Did you see him apply my seal? No. That was the missing piece, said in many ways so no one could say we hid it. Samira had seen Paige pass the numbered pouch. The inventory showed the pouch belonged to my missing backup device. The portal times showed that a token with the matching number was used during the distant closure. The travel talk gave Paige a reason to use my route as cover, but none of this alone proved Victor had used the terminal. I wanted it to be true, but wanting isn't proof. At the submission desk, I added Samira's statement, the inventory photos, and the original chain of custody notes. In my summary, I used the words transfer and observed, not seal use or proved beyond doubt. I wrote that Paige did not have the authority to give the device to someone else and that Victor's actions were still being looked into. Before I sent it, Paige messaged on the preserved channel, if Samira is saying things about me, come home and ask me yourself. You owe me that before you hurt what we have. For a bad moment, I thought about going there with the pouch photo and making her answer me in private. Paige could deny everything, find out exactly what Samira had, and later say I had planned this. I refused the meeting in the same channel. Then I submitted my statement. The confirmation number showed up on my screen, small and simple. Paige's handover was now backed up by an eyewitness, a numbered record, and timing before her complaint. The planned event and the credential misuse now matched. The real user that day was still unknown, and so was what the false report had hidden. To clear the doubt, I needed someone who didn't know about the event, someone who could confirm where I had been with regular crew records. Omar Bell met me in the crew yard with a greasy binder under his arm. Look here, he said, setting it down on a steel table. Paperwork gets back at anyone who says it's useless. The binder had nothing surprising. Daily crew logs, weather reports, schedules signed by people who wished they were somewhere else. Just what I needed. Omar had been the crew chief at the first site. He knew when I arrived, when I climbed, and where I waited during the weather hold. He had no idea about the affair. He didn't see Paige give the pouch to Victor. He couldn't say who used my seal 700 miles away. That made him helpful in a way Samira wasn't. He pointed to the date of the false closure. My note's at 7:12, he said. Your badge check matches it. We went up at 8:06. Weather alarm held us at 9:38. His finger moved down the page. The writing said I stayed with the crew until the handoff started again. The schedule showed my assigned terminal window after that. The remote job was done while Omar and 2 other workers kept an eye on me. No theories, No stories, no special checks, just a man, a tower, bad weather, and a log no one thought would matter. Are you ready to confirm this? I asked. I already made a copy, Omar said. Victor has been pushing with references. I know. He'll say you're on my side. Omar looked around the yard, as if waiting for a better question. I'm on the log's side. He signed the confirmation paper and marked the limits himself. He could prove I was at the first site and did the work there. He couldn't say who had the missing token or who changed the report from far away. Relief came fast, nearly feeling pure. Then his phone buzzed. Omar read the message twice. His smile disappeared quickly. What is it? I asked. The service company dropped my main job. That job covered 3 places and most of his year's work. The note said working with me was a problem and took the work away from him at once. I looked at his signature on the paper. You can take it back. No. I mean it. They're blaming you for helping me. They say it's because I'm keeping the crew record right. The difference didn't change the problem. 2 workers crossed the yard and saw us on the bench. One looked down, the other turned toward the tool shed. The news was spreading faster than his phone. I'll fix this, I said. Don't make my bill your confession, Rusk. I knew what I signed. He slid the signed paper toward me. For the first time, my location didn't rely only on the witness Victor and Paige had attacked. The case had normal proof. It also came with a cost paid by someone else, which made me afraid to accept gifts from anyone again. June's garage smelled like cold concrete, cardboard, and faint gasoline from a mower that hadn't started in 2 summers. My broken field gear was spread on a folding table. Water got into one case during the quick move. A pair of gloves had stiff cuffs, and 3 label stickers peeled enough to make their numbers unclear. June stood by the garage door holding a notepad. Do you want help? She asked. Or do you want us close while you work? Us meant Omar, carrying 2 plastic bins, but he didn't act like losing his job meant he controlled my choices. I almost said I could manage alone. That answer was automatic. It kept pity, advice, and help turned into proof I couldn't work by myself away. But it made every job take twice as long. Help, I said. I'll check condition and write the notes. You write the numbers back. Nobody throws anything out. June nodded. Photos? Only if I ask. Omar placed the bins down. Can I separate soft items from tools? Or is that taking over? Soft goods only. Power has gone to my head. Buckles clicked on the table. June read numbers slowly, waiting for me to say them back before moving on. When she found a stained rope bag, she held it up without opening it. Check inside? She asked. Yes. She didn't say it was clear. She didn't tell me what the stain meant. She unzipped it, stepped back, and let me look inside. Omar saw me having trouble with the stiff gloves. Those are ruined, he said. I'll note that. He went to his truck and brought back a spare pair of gloves, used but clean. He set them on the table instead of handing them to me. You can borrow these. At first, I thought he meant I couldn't afford to buy new ones. Then I realized it sounded just like something Dean would say. What are the rules? I asked. Give them back when you get your own. If they get damaged, tell me. If you disappear somewhere far away, I still get to see the gloves. June looked down at her notepad and tried not to smile. I picked up the gloves. Okay, I'll take them. Nothing else changed hands. Omar didn't ask to look at my inventory list. June didn't add any new rules. Neither of them asked about Paige, her care, or what I planned to do next. We finished in less than 2 hours. I signed the condition report myself. June only signed the parts she had read, and Omar only signed what he had seen. The gloves stayed on my hands as I packed the last box. Getting help didn't take away what I had done, and it didn't make someone else in charge of me. That little control was enough to offer Samira the same kind of help before her next meeting. Helpful support with rules she was in charge of. Samira sat at June's kitchen table. The interview questions were turned sideways on the table between us. I'll talk about the transfer, the travel talk, and the warning I sent, she said. I won't guess who used the seal or how the hidden blade was. Those parts are crossed out. What if the person asking questions still brings them up? You don't have to answer. You can pause the recording, you can stop the session whenever you want. She looked at me carefully. What if you think I should answer? It's still your choice. The word felt strange to say. A month ago, I would have said I was protecting her by deciding what was best and blocking any trouble from her telling the truth. I wanted to keep her from facing any problems because she was brave enough to speak up. That was just a better way to say rescue. I pointed to the release page. You also pick which extra notes you want to share. The original message stays with you. The copy that is accepted is saved with proof it is real. Samira read every line before signing. We started the recorder. She kept her story short. She said she saw Paige give a numbered pouch to Victor and repeated only what she heard about the travel conversation. When I asked if she had seen Victor open the pouch, she said no. When I asked if she knew who put on my seal, she said no. Then, she told the important timing. She had sent the warning message during a weather delay, before Paige had complained about confusion with the operator. Samira opened the message on her phone and read the time out loud. I compared it to a saved complaint report. 47 minutes passed between them. Paige's filing called Samira a troublemaker who was on my side after I lost control of my token. The time showed Samira warned me before Paige filed her complaint. It also showed there wasn't enough time for the collusion they suggested. This did not show who used the token, but showed what happened when. Why did you keep the message? I asked. Because I thought someone might say I remembered it wrong. Her voice was calm, but her thumb pressed tightly on her phone's edge. I wanted to promise the record would keep her safe. Omar's canceled case had shown me I couldn't promise that. The recording can help your case, I said. But I don't know how Victor will respond. I understand. We looked over the file together. Samira agreed with the parts in focus and refused to answer a question asking her to guess what Victor meant. I marked that out without objecting. When the final copy was saved, she took her receipt and stood up. If they come after my statement, she said, they come after exactly what I said. Not my longer version, not Paige's practiced words, hers. The testimony could finally be used because Samira still controlled what it said. Victor answered with work schedules, where it was easier for him to control things. Samira sent me 2 schedule files and a note about what she would talk about. After the interview, the shifts I liked had been taken away. I could prove the dates and pay changes. I wouldn't guess about anything beyond Victor's message in writing. The first file showed her usual shifts. The second took her out and put less experienced workers in her place. It moved her to standby work without the extra pay for traveling. Victor's note was under the change. Once the confusion in your statement is fixed, we can talk again about your shifts and future support, he wrote. He had made the pressure real and clear. Before I finished saving the files, Gavin Pike called from his truck. I knew his name from distant maintenance reports, but we hadn't talked before. I can confirm 1 retest and 1 schedule change, he said. Nothing about the pouch, nothing about your papers. His breathing sounded fast over the truck fan. What schedule change? Victor moved me off the commissioning job this morning. Said I could go back to good work once my story matched the final report. Did he tell you what story that should be? That the blade's response was normal and the retest wasn't needed. I opened a new note. What did you see yourself? Gavin paused long enough for a truck to pass behind him. There was a strange response during the blade tap check. I wrote down that it needed a retest. Victor canceled it. Did he give a technical reason? He said it was just normal noise, and we were already behind schedule. Can you tell from that if the blade had a real problem? No. That's why the retest was important. His exact words chilled me more than a dramatic claim would have. Gavin wasn't saying the blade was broken. He was saying the necessary check to find out was stopped. What happened to your note? It wasn't in the handoff report later. Did you take it out? No. Did you see who did? No. I saw Victor look over the report, and he told me the issue was closed. That's all I know. I read my notes back to him. He fixed one phrase from failed response to unusual response. I changed it. With his go-ahead, I saved the original maintenance note, the later report version, his transfer message, and the note linking his words to the updated story. Samira gave permission to share her schedule records. Victor hadn't scared them in some hidden place. He used work shifts, daily pay, future jobs, and the references young workers needed to keep their jobs. Cleaner methods, longer harm. Until Gavin called, the distant report was dangerous for me because someone had closed it using my name. Now it might have hidden an unknown problem. That didn't prove how bad it was, or who closed it with my seal. But it gave Victor another reason to keep it closed. The worry was no longer mine and Samira's alone. After seeing how clearly Victor could use work control to push silence, I had to ask why my father talked just like Victor, as if his own money depended on it. Maya's accounting space was at one end of her dining room. Two computer screens and a noisy printer separated it from the rest of the house. She didn't start with an opinion. She tapped her screen and said, Ruskfield LLC member payment records, second quarter. Do you know this payment date? That was Maya, starting with the facts. Family trouble again? The amount matched the money Dean said came from his own funds. He had said Paige and Victor had no control over his money. He claimed he was pushing me to keep the engagement because families don't break promises over one simple mistake. But the records told a different story. The money didn't go straight into Dean's account. It first went to a vendor's account for regional field support, then showed up in Dean's home records as a loan advance. There was no invoice to explain the vendor's role. Can you check both sides? I asked. The money's sent out and received? Yes, I can show dates, amounts, who owns the accounts and notes, but I can't say why the vendor sent it or what Dean knew. Don't try. Maya sat back. One entry was marked as normal vendor payment under Paige's profile. Then 12 minutes later, the note changed. The new note called it a temporary family obligation. Could that just be fixing the records? I asked. Maybe, but only if there was an invoice or loan paper to back it up. Is there one? No, not in what I can see. I sent Paige a question through the secured channel. Please share the invoice or agreement for this payment. Her answer came while Maya printed documents. It said, that was your father's money. Ask him. Maya looked at the message, then at the records. That doesn't explain the movement? No. Want me to call him? No. I won't make you the family messenger. Her face changed. First relief, then worry. If I confirm this, I'm not neutral anymore. You're being honest. That's different. You know Dad won't see it like that. I did. Dean thought being neutral meant agreeing with him before knowing all facts. If Maya signed off on the records, he'd see it as betrayal because the numbers became clear, not just unclear as he liked. The printer pushed out 12 pages. Maya signed the ones she could confirm and marked the vendor's reason as unknown. She also listed missing papers, loan agreement, invoice, repayment plan, and true owner disclosure. No blame, just 4 missing pieces. For a while, I let myself hope Dean might find a paper that made everything clear. Maybe he misunderstood where the money came from. Maybe Paige had put the payment in the wrong place. Maybe his borrowed phrase from Victor was just fear, not a hidden deal. Maya closed the folder. He told me yesterday the bridge money never went through an LLC vendor. There it was, a clear difference from what he said before. The family problem now had dates, owners, and amounts attached to it. Maya lost the chance to stay neutral. Dean lost the chance to explain his pressure as just concern. The records left one choice: show the proof to him and don't talk about the wedding until he explains where the money came from. Dean used the old family nickname as soon as he took off his coat. It felt different with Maya's records on June's coffee table. Smaller, not harmless, just open. June waited until he sat down. Caleb wants an answer about the account, she said. I'm here because this is my home. Maya's here to confirm her records. No one is telling Caleb what to do with Paige. Dean looked between us. So this is like a trial now? No, I said. Just one question about one payment. Maya opened the records to the marked page. You said the bridge money came from your personal credit line, but the payment went through a field services vendor and got into your account 3 days later. Why? Dean did not look at the page. You don't understand how business loans work. I'm an accountant. You do taxes. Maya's jaw tightened, but her voice stayed calm. I can set up the accounts. I'm asking you to explain this loan. He tried to avoid the topic 3 times. He mentioned the wedding deposits, feeling awkward because of me and that maybe Samira misunderstood Paige and Victor. June stopped each excuse with the same words. That doesn't explain the ledger. Finally, Dean put both hands on his knees. My credit was tight. He said it like he was annoyed, as if we had forced him to lie by asking questions. Victor knew a vendor who would give a short loan, he said. It wasn't illegal. Which vendor? Maya asked. He named the one in her records. Did Victor set it up? I asked. He introduced us. Did you tell me this before repeating Victor's story about the seal event? No. The room was quiet, except for the sound of the fridge in the kitchen. Dean said the vendor wanted the money back sooner after I refused to cooperate and limited contact with Paige. Victor told him that fighting over the credentials could hurt the contracts the loan depended on. Dean thought the easiest way to keep things from falling apart was to get me back home, keep the engagement going, and stop me from causing problems. You used the loan to make me stay quiet, I said. I was trying to keep you from ruining your life. And the marriage? I thought once you and Paige talked, this would end. June stood up, not in a dramatic way, just enough to catch Dean's attention. You don't get to call that peace. You saved your loan by helping them shut him out. Dean looked at me. Caleb, I'm sorry this became... Not yet. I said it softly. First, Maya gets the loan papers and payment details. You don't contact Samira. You don't speak for me to Paige, Victor, or anyone handling the credential check. Saying sorry doesn't fix the numbers. Dean looked at June like she should make it easier. She asked me, do you want him to leave? That was the moment. She didn't answer for me. She didn't try to keep up the idea of family harmony. She left the choice to me. Yes. Dean grabbed his coat. This time he didn't call me by a nickname. His small admission showed the loan, the Victor connection, and why he tried to stop me from speaking out using marriage hopes. I didn't trust my father anymore, and no apology could change that before seeing the records. With family ties broken, I gathered proof for the meeting that could decide who really made the final call, and only that. Elliot Vance started by pushing my binder back on the desk. He didn't sound sorry or doubtful. He pointed at the certification number next to my name. His voice was calm, like a man sure each word would matter in a future review. The question is, who used your credential to finish the remote report? And if you gave permission? My binder held the whole story. Samira's report of Paige handing something to Victor. Their secret trip planned around my schedule. Gavin's canceled retest and what happened after. Omar's location data, Maya's ledger, Dean's confession. To me, separating these facts felt like pulling apart a machine and pretending the broken parts didn't belong to the same thing. Elliot turned the binder to the side. You've mixed issues of who owns the credential, work-related consequences, a possible equipment problem, personal motive, and a family money conflict. I don't have power over all five. They're connected. Maybe they cause each other. But rules say they need different proof. I felt the old anger rise in my neck. Dean had taught me to feel when someone used calm words to hide the fact they looked down on me. But Elliot wasn't smiling. He wasn't saying I was careless or unstable. He was simply telling me the limit of his job. He took out my portal screenshots. Each showed a distant closing, an unfamiliar code at the end, and the time I'd been noted on Samira's tower. These show what you saw, he said, but they don't prove the system's official record unless a custodian verifies it. They also don't show who was holding the device. Samira saw Victor holding the pouch. That shows possession. Omar supports your location. Gavin supports a technical issue, but none saw the seal being placed. He wasn't ignoring their accounts. That hurt as much as being turned down. I had prepared my case as if strong morals could cover every missing piece. They couldn't. Elliot said I needed 3 different types of proof for resubmission. Facts from people who saw events, verified system records, and technical data connected to report history. Samira's response would need a formal work channel. The loan and lost income belonged in another claim. The planned affair explained a reason, but it did not prove who actually did it. Then Elliot marked which screenshots without verification he was leaving out. The relief I wanted died on his desk. Official copies would cost money I didn't have. Detailed device analysis would cost more. Elliot gave me the form to request the custodian's help, but made it clear these costs were serious. I signed anyway. My mentor's rule had always been simple at the tower. Never accept as true what you haven't checked yourself. In Elliot's office, that rule sounded even harder. I couldn't ask him to accept the whole story as true because every part felt real. I had to prove only what each record could support. The rejected screenshots sent me to Iris Chen, the custodian who could turn observed timing into verified evidence. Iris met me in a secure office, where even the trash bin had a safety label. She placed a sealed folder between us. Certified export CE4471, she said. Before we look, this export does not show who held your device. That was a strange way to get good news, but it was exactly what I needed. The folder had a list of fields, a system clock certification, and audit lines from my preservation request. No private messages, no personal notes, nothing from Paige's accounts. Iris had given only the records needed to show the token's status and how it was accessed. She pointed to the first important line. My backup credential had been reassigned during the distant closing. This happened after I logged into Samira's tower terminal and before my seal appeared on the other report. The code matched the missing device from my list. This gave the screenshots solid proof. The second line was even more important. The access request that allowed the reassignment came from inside the regional safety office Victor controlled. I stared at the office code until the letters blurred. So that means Victor was at the terminal? No, Iris said right away. It means the request came from inside an area linked to his office. I can confirm the system time, permission group, and network segment, but I can't say who typed on the keyboard. Sure ground, then a clear limit. Paige had proper access to my storage case. Samira saw her give the numbered pouch to Victor. Now the verified record showed my token being reassigned through the office Victor controlled during that same time. The facts were connected, but Iris refused to make them fit perfectly just because I wanted it simple. Could Paige have done this from far away? I asked. This file doesn't answer that. Could any worker use that office connection? It shows a place that was authorized, but not who was there. She checked the details, the clock source, and how the data was taken. Then she signed a long page of limits, longer than the one with the useful info. I respected her for that. I also hated that respect cost me money. The cost for the data export and quick preservation came out of my account before I left. I paid them with money meant for equipment insurance. My appeal was eating the money I would need to keep working. Victor could still say the office was open to others. Paige could still say the reassignment was a mistake. Neither reason changed the timing, and neither made the export show who exactly did it. I took the file CE4471 back to Elliot, with better proof but less money. For the first time, the mismatch was accepted. But it still wasn't enough. Before the review call, I sent Samira the exact parts of her statement I planned to use. How she saw the pouch, when it was moved, her watching Paige put it in Victor's hand. Nothing about what happened after Victor left her sight. Samira replied, "That is still what I agree to." I joined the call from June's dining table, with Iris's certified data open next to Omar's crew log. The records looked solid when shown together. One showed I was far away from the closing time. One showed the token change through Victor's office. Samira showed the token moved between them. Elliot appeared on my laptop and named what was still missing before talking more. I still need a clear link between when the token was held and the changes made inside the report. I felt less hope, but it didn't vanish. The token was changed through Victor's office, I said. Samira saw him get it. Omar shows I wasn't there. All good points, said Elliot, but none prove who removed the note about retesting. Gavin saw Victor remove it, I said. Gavin saw the action and the response, but I don't have clear proof connecting that to the official sealed report, Elliot explained. He went through the appeal without disrespecting anyone. Samira's statement stayed believable and focused. Omar's records proved where I was. Iris's data proved the system's timing and the office's control. Then Elliot said no to bringing me back yet. His words were short and formal. My suspension stayed until proof could link the token's use to the closure by technical report history or something similar. I thanked him, though it felt like my mouth had a job in polite replies. Elliot ended the call. The laptop fan kept buzzing. I sat alone at June's table, listening to that quiet sound, and the fridge running in the next room. My unpaid bills were still frozen. 2 inspections were already assigned to others. The equipment payment due on Friday wouldn't wait just because my proof got better. For about a minute, I wanted to send the same files again with angrier words. I wanted louder words to be proof. Instead, I wrote down the denial exactly as it was said. Not, Samira was wrong. Not, Victor was cleared. Not, I had used the seal. Missing proof, a clear report history linking holding the token to the report changes. I sent Samira one update. Appeal denied. Your statement was accepted. They still need the report link. She replied a few minutes later. Then don't change what I said by adding more. I wouldn't. Being denied took away my best chance to make money right away, but it also gave me no reason to guess what to do next. The problem wasn't a new claim. It was about the report's history and the company saying I had allowed shared use through training. That work belonged to Dev Shah. Dev spoke up again and fixed his previous idea. Now, I'm somewhat sure about token timing, less sure about personal location, and only sure about certain devices and files here. We were in a small office with no windows and 3 screens showing different problems. Dev started by checking the company's claim that I had allowed sharing login info because of regular cross-training. The company hadn't given us clear original records yet. They only gave a list with session numbers, dates, and teachers. Dev checked that list against normal attendance sheets. "The numbers don't match," he said. "This session shows 14 acknowledgments, but only 9 people came. 2 dates are before the teacher even started. This teacher's order belongs to a later course. So the acknowledgments aren't real. I can say the list doesn't fit the attendance sheets, but I can't say it's fake without seeing the original records." Paige's defense was starting to fall apart, but not as much as I wanted. The mismatch made her story doubtful. It didn't yet say who made the fake list. Dev changed screens. His first check on the devices looked cleaner. One pattern seemed to go from Victor's office to the FAR report session. When Dev called me last night, he said this might put Victor at the terminal the whole time. I felt better because he said might, not must. Then we got more records. Dev looked closer at one entry and followed it to a shared hub used for syncing data. The same pattern could appear when a device passed this hub, even if the user wasn't sitting in Victor's office. "I'm taking back the surety on personal location," he said. The words hit me like a pause again. "But you told me the pattern followed him." "At first, yes, but the new data shows my first thought was wrong." Victor's defense talked about shared systems. Dev had just removed my best clue. He didn't hide that fact, but he didn't say it was all useless. The timing was still good. The file order still matched. The request still came from Victor's office. What was gone was the idea that the data alone put Victor physically at the terminal during the inspection. I walked to the far wall and stared at a framed rules poster until I could speak calmly. Does taking that back hurt the rest? Only if we act like I didn't take it back. That was the important part. Paige and Victor could try to blame an analyst who held on to a bad guess, but it was harder to blame one who corrected himself before the meeting and said exactly what was left. Dev changed his statement while I watched. No claim about personal location, no romantic messages, no magical proof from a single token, just problems with lists, timing that still made sense, and file checks that mattered if the missing human proof was found. I lost the simple answer, but what was left might still matter. Our next step took us to the secure area where the numbered pouch had been recorded. Iris started our second review with another official number. Supplemental export CE4471B. It proves the custody window. It does not show every handoff during that time. This did not annoy me now. It helped me stay calm. The client records team kept a log of who used each credential device in its secured area. Iris matched my pouch number from my list with the entry and return records for the cage. Victor had taken that pouch before the report was changed. He brought it back after I placed my seal on it. Iris turned the screen toward me. The checkout record had Victor's assigned ID, the pouch number, and the time. The return record used the same details. Between these times was the report editing and the time the distant seal was added. "How do you check if the person using the badge is really Victor?" I asked. "The system checks the badge and requires a signed electronic receipt. Can someone else use his badge? I can't rule out every possibility. But the system recorded Victor as the one taking responsibility. What happens after checkout? The cage log can't show if he kept the pouch the whole time, gave it to someone else, or stored it somewhere else in a secured place." Victor had said the shared syncing hub where Dev's data was stored was open to many people, so Dev's data wasn't reliable. That was partly true. The hub didn't show who had it, but the cage log was different. It gave a clear time frame when Victor had the pouch. It started before the report was worked on and ended after. Samira had said earlier that Paige handed the pouch to Victor. That memory now matched a usual custody system set up before any of us were involved. Iris confirmed the data matched for the extraction, account, clock times, and pouch number. She refused my request to include unrelated office access fields since they were not part of what had to be kept. "If these don't answer the question," she said, "I won't send them." A few months ago, I might have thought she was blocking me, but now I saw she was protecting the case. Extra records could give Victor more chances to argue and call this a fishing trip. I signed for CE4471B. The evidence still didn't show a camera angle of Victor putting on my seal, but it didn't need to. It showed who had the pouch while Dev saved the files, Omar put me at the first site, and Gavin's notes showed what was missing from the final report. For the first time since Samira stepped between me and the handoff terminal, the different records made more than just a pile. They created a clear time frame. Elliot could now ask what happened during that time. Elliot set up the timeline on a big screen in the review room. Paige and Victor appeared on video calls in separate windows. I sat facing Elliot with my hands flat on the table to keep them still. "This review is about who created the credentials and changes to the report," Elliot said. "It isn't about personal claims, work issues, or any other topics." Victor leaned closer to his camera. "Then half of Rusk's materials don't matter. Half of Mr. Rusk's original info was left out," Elliot said. "We are looking at the verified part." He started with Omar's crew logs. Weather delays, tower access, handoff times. They showed I stayed at the first site the whole time the distant closure happened. This did not just mean I probably didn't travel. It showed I could not have done the other inspection then. Next was Samira. Her statement showed one clear thing. Paige gave my numbered pouch to Victor while they talked about my route. Samira never said she watched him put on the seal, and Elliot accepted that as part of her honesty. Paige's written reply called the event an administrative handover. It did not include any approval from me. Iris came in for the custody part. CE4471B records show Victor Hale took the numbered pouch before the report work and gave it back after the seal's time was set, she said. The record doesn't show every time it changed hands. Victor said that the shared service hub made it hard to say who was responsible. That made Dev join in. "My updated review doesn't place Mr. Hale at a terminal from metadata alone," Dev said, "but it does show the report was changed during the official custody time. The retest field was removed before the file was closed with the seal." He found the lasting sequence and stopped there. Then Elliot showed Gavin's original note from maintenance. Gavin confirmed the wording came from his own work. Retest needed, unusual reaction not fixed. He didn't say how serious the problem was. He confirmed that Victor had canceled the retest, and the note disappeared from the final packet after that. One fact at a time. I was not at the location. Samira showed the transfer. Iris showed Victor's recorded custody. The certified access record showed the token changed hands through his office area. Dev linked the report change to that time. Gavin showed what was removed and who stopped the retest. Victor called this just a guess. Elliot looked straight at the camera. "Adding together these facts is not wrong because each record has limits. Here the limits overlap and don't create a real alternative." The room felt smaller after he said that. For the credential check, Elliot found that Victor used my credential to close the distant report after removing the retest need. By doing this, he hid a problem under my seal. I heard this clearly and understood every word. Relief came slowly, as if it was waiting for someone to take away my access badge. "Does this clear me?" I asked. "This shows unauthorized authorship," Elliot said. "Your token control responsibility is a different question." The blade's real condition was still unknown. Gavin's note showed a needed question was erased, not that the answer would be disastrous. Any bigger blame would need other reviews and, later, a physical check by an independent person. But the main lie finally had a name. The planned trip no longer had to prove the technical side. From now on, it could be examined as the motive. Bryn Larkin introduced herself by placing a reservation confirmation on the table between us. "I'll prove this is real," she said. "I'm not here to say Paige never cared for you or that I was secretly supporting you." We were in a rented document room with frosted glass, one worn table, and a phone that smelled faintly of cleaner. A neutral place. Bryn chose it. The reservation showed 2 adults, 1 room, and dates starting the night my false route was meant to end. A payment hold was on a Larkin family travel account. The name charged for the extra payment was Bryn's. "She told me it was temporary," Bryn said. "Then I got a notice saying I'd approved the booking." "Did you?" "No." She opened the original confirmation using the travel site. The clerk at the document center watched as Bryn logged in, downloaded the record, and called the company using the number on their public website. The representative confirmed the reservation number, booking date, payment hold, and a later attempt to charge Bryn. None of it mentioned any personal relationship. Financial records don't usually arrive at just the right moment. Bryn filled in the rest. She had overheard Paige talking to Victor while the reservation was being set up. Paige had named my travel route and said the dates would work because I'd be busy during the handoff. Victor said everything would be finished before they left. "The trip wasn't a conference," Bryn said, "and Samira didn't make it up." Hearing this from Paige's own sister should have felt like relief. Instead, it felt like more pain in the same old wound. Samira's story had been attacked as if it was a lie made up by an unhappy worker trying to cause trouble. Bryn's records broke that story. The travel plan was real. Its dates matched the fake route Paige gave as an excuse. "Why now?" I asked. Bryn didn't try to make it sound better. "Because Paige decided I didn't matter." She showed me a dispute on a bill with her name on it, and a message where Paige said Bryn had booked the room for herself. Bryn wasn't suddenly trying to be honest. She was protecting herself before Paige turned a favor into a problem. "I should have spoken up sooner," she said, "but I didn't. I'm not trying to make that sound good." What she said mattered more than a simple sorry. I only signed to say I'd received the evidence. I didn't promise to keep her safe or say we were allies. The reservation gave a clear reason to doubt Paige. The payment records showed the timeline. Bryn could prove both, and the call she had heard. We had useful evidence now. Trust came later. I saved Bryn's files at my work table just like I had with Samira's. Original files first, then a history of how they were sent, and note limits after. Bryn stood across from me. "You already know Paige is lying," she said. "Why do you want me to keep saying things I can't prove?" "Because the limits help make the other proof usable." She could prove the reservation because it was on an account she used. She could prove the billing dispute because it had her name. She could tell what she heard during the call, but she didn't see Paige pass my ID pouch. She didn't see Victor use my seal. She didn't know anything about the knife condition. I included those missing parts in the report. Bryn read them carefully twice. "You're making me sound less helpful." "I'm making you sound true. What if Paige goes after me?" "I can save what you tell me. I can send it the right way, but I can't promise what your family will do." Her lips pressed tight. She had hoped the evidence would mean more than just proof. Maybe friendship. Maybe a plan behind the scenes. Maybe protection for staying silent until Paige blamed her. "I'm not your enemy," she said, "but that doesn't mean I'm someone I trust." Her words were quieter than I meant, but I didn't take them back. I gave her the same choices I gave Samira. Approve everything released, say no to parts she didn't know about, and get a copy of the report before it went out. No private calls, no talking directly with other witnesses, no sharing drafts. Bryn agreed to those rules. Then I reached out to Samira using her approved contact. I didn't tell her what Bryn said. "A new source sent travel records," I said. "Do you agree to let Elliot compare these confirmed dates with your own statement?" "Dates only?" "Dates and the route already in your approved interview." "No new questions about relationships?" "None, unless you say it's okay later." She agreed. Her voice was careful, just like it should be. "Don't send me the other person's statement," she said. "I won't." That quick exchange was important. Paige had already tried to make it look like Samira and I worked together. If I let Bryn talk to her, compare memories, or share what they said, it would help Paige prove her claim, even though she had no solid proof. I sent Bryn's papers separately, with a note showing why she came forward. She only spoke up after learning Paige was trying to blame her for the travel costs. Hiding that would have looked worse when Paige showed it later. Bryn stood up to leave, but stopped with her hand on the door. "So, that's it?" "For now," I said. She seemed disappointed. I understood that. But her disappointment wasn't something I had to fix. Her papers could help show the truth without needing to get close to me. Her worry might be real, but I didn't have to carry it all myself. It felt colder to rely in limits, not trust. But it was also harder for others to use against me. Paige's formal answer came while I was looking over Bryn's papers at June's kitchen table. It was 31 pages long, written in a dry way, like she wanted her complaint to sound normal. She started by questioning the certified export. She said an access request from Victor's office didn't prove who handled the device. That was true. Iris said so herself. Then Paige said Bryn had booked the trip and then tried to blame others when her payment hold didn't work. I noted the claim and kept reading. On page 19, Paige said Samira had stood next to a yellow service cabinet where the noise of equipment made it hard to hear the conversation well. I stopped. The color and place of that cabinet had never come up before in any report. Samira had mentioned it only in her sealed interview to explain where she was when she heard Paige and Victor. Elliot left that detail out of the shared papers because it wasn't needed for the decision. Paige also said she was never given Samira's protected statement. I read these parts again. I wanted to write Victor told her in the margin. It fit what I thought, but it wasn't proven. I opened Samira's release log to check. The cabinet detail showed only in the sealed recording and hidden transcript. Samira had allowed Elliot to see it as part of his review, but didn't share it with Paige, Bryn, or me outside of the controlled session. I called Samira on the special line. "I need to ask about one part of your interview," I said. "Did you tell Paige yourself where you were standing?" "No." "Victor?" "No. Why?" "I'm noting a possible rule break. I'm not sure how it happened." Samira was quiet for a moment. "You can use my release log," she said, "but not the whole recording again." "Okay," I said. Bryn also confirmed Paige had blamed her for the reservation, but she didn't know anything about the yellow cabinet. That meant her evidence stayed true. I sent a focused request to Elliot. Paige's exact sentence, Samira's release log, the hidden transcript part, and the certified delivery list. I didn't ask him to judge how Paige learned the detail. I only asked if the timing of allowed communications could be checked against the requests for retraction and later changes. Elliot agreed to the limited review. Paige's answer was meant to attack Iris's export and divide Bryn from Samira. Instead, it showed knowledge Paige said she didn't have. It didn't prove the whole plan yet. A single small detail crossed a line it shouldn't have. That was the link in the chain. By evening, Marcus Larkin had called me twice about the wedding deposits. The pressure was changing again. Marcus started his call with the invoice number. "The venue balance becomes non-refundable at 5 tomorrow," he said. "The catering deposit already is. We can still save most of the money if you meet with Paige in private." I kept the call open. "How would meeting her change the contracts?" "It shows good faith. Paige wants to clear up the misunderstanding if you stop treating her like an enemy." The misunderstanding now involved my missing credential, a trip planned with Victor, an unresolved problem with a blade, and the pressure on the woman who had warned me. Marcus didn't know most of the details. He only knew what Paige had told him and the cost of the wedding. He also knew about the family business loan. "If you refuse," he said, "I'll have to ask for repayment now. I won't lend money to a man making my daughter look bad in public." "I haven't made a public complaint." "You're handling this through formal channels. That's the same thing." While he was still talking, Paige sent a message. "My father's offer ends tomorrow. Please don't let this become permanent over papers you don't understand." That line hurt. I could hear the old Paige in it. The woman who used to read weather reports while I drove and remind me which client hated early calls. Then came the part she always kept polished enough to sound caring. "Papers. You don't understand." Marcus lowered his voice. "Meet without recording. No investigators, no technicians. Just family." He said, family like it was a place where facts had to leave their tools at the door. "I won't attend an unrecorded meeting," I said. "Then you're choosing to lose the deposits." "No. I'm not going to let the deposits decide if I marry Paige." He gave me warnings about the venue, the catering, the photographer, and the loan. Each one had a number attached. Money already paid. Money still owed. Money that might be saved if I let Paige control the talks. When the call ended, I wrote back. I said no to the meeting. I refused to connect any business or loan terms to a private talk. I asked that all future financial demands show which contract they came from. Paige replied with one line. "Then you're accepting the consequences." She was right about that part. At 5 the next afternoon, the venue deposit became non-refundable. The catering fee followed. I watched the deadlines pass from June's kitchen table. Each one felt like a door closing in a house I helped design. I didn't cancel every wedding contract that day. I started the formal process and accepted that most of the money was lost. Grief didn't make the demand fair. Love didn't turn money already spent into agreement. The engagement still existed on paper, but its financial support was gone. At 6:14 the next morning, the LLC access screen rejected my password. I tried the recovery link once. It said the administrator had removed my permissions. Paige was the only other administrator. The lockout blocked the client queue, open assignments, and shared records I had a right to see. It also kept me from seeing how Marcus's loan request was being handled inside the company. I sent the denial to Maya. She answered with a ledger date instead of an opinion. "I exported the family side records at 5:52, she said. "I can prove what existed then." "I can't say what changed after your access ended." "Keep the original record." "Already done." 40 minutes later, Paige used the recorded channel to send 6 training confirmations. Each one seemed to have my electronic signature, along with language allowing someone else to use my ID during supervised work in the field. Victor sent a note with them. He said these confirmations showed that cross-training was normal and that my current objection went against my earlier agreement. I looked at my own name until it stopped feeling like words. Dev had already found that the course numbers, dates, and teacher order didn't match usual provider lists. Now, these copies brought a new problem. 4 confirmations happened within just 90 seconds, even though the sessions were said to be in different months and places. That wasn't proof they were fake. Not yet. On the surface, these records changed the situation. My admitted mistake of losing the backup key could now be seen as giving permission to someone else. Carelessness might look like agreement. Victor's actions might look like regular practice that I only questioned after being challenged. I saved the message details and sent Paige one question. Please tell me who kept the original records and who gave the training for each confirmation. She did not reply. The next letter came from Tessa Briggs, the company lawyer. Her letterhead said a lot before the text did. She was keeping rights, holding files for a possible legal case, and opening a channel for settlement talks. Tessa's letter clearly separated the civil talks from the credential issue. Joining the talks wouldn't mean I admit anything about the training. Everyone was told to keep the confirmations, routing records, communications, and report drafts. It was more room to work with than I thought the company would allow. During a short call, Tessa spoke carefully. I'm not asking you to accept the training documents as true, she said. I want to know if you will hear proposals about property access and legal risks. Will just listening mean I give up my case? No. Will this channel give me back company access? No. Then keep my objection to the lockout. I will note that. Marcus's loan claim was still not in her control. Victor's actions with my ID were still under Elliot's review. Paige still controlled the company screen. I only agreed to get proposals in writing. This didn't mean peace. It wasn't really an offer yet. But it created a channel where I could listen without giving up my rights. That small chance came the same morning Paige made another move. She sent papers that made my agreement look like it was made up. Hope and threat were in the same inbox. Elliot started the official review by focusing the question. We are not deciding work-related solutions today, he said. We are seeing if the wording used to take back access, the information leak, pressure through references, and scheduled changes show they acted together. The timeline began with Samira saying no. Her message refusing Paige's suggested wording had a verified delivery time. 8 minutes later, Paige called Victor. The phone record showed the numbers, how long they talked, and the time, not what they said. 11 minutes after their call ended, Paige and Victor sent Samira separate messages using the same unusual phrases, handing off an administrative task and talking about conference travel. Samira joined the session long enough to confirm her refusal. I stand by my refusal, and the messages I received, she said. I don't know what was said on the phone. Elliot thanked her and ended her part. Then it was Gavin's turn. He found the schedule change that moved him away from the work he wanted, and the note Victor had sent with it. That afternoon, Samira's preferred shifts also changed under the same supervisor. Gavin didn't guess about Paige. He checked his schedule, what Victor said, and when it all happened. Then came the yellow cabinet. Paige's formal reply used that secret detail while refusing to share Samira's private interview. The delivery record showed Victor's complaint office got the sealed file before Paige sent her statement. It didn't show Victor giving her the transcript. It only showed how the protected info moved through his office and appeared in Paige's words. Bryn's evidence gave a personal connection. She confirmed a call she'd overheard between Paige and Victor where they talked about the reservation, my cover route, and the need to have things clean before the trip. Her story didn't prove all later calls, but it showed their talks involved the same route and plan Paige said Samira had made up. One record, then another. Denial. Call, matching words to take back statements, protected details, changes in schedule, pressure from references. My notes were clear for the first 30 minutes. After that, time felt broken into pieces. Elliot's voice, the cursor moving, my pulse in my jaw. The air vent above the screen making noise like a loose piece I couldn't fix. Elliot's conclusion was careful. The records showed Paige and Victor worked together after Samira refused to take back her statement. Their plan included rehearsed words, pressure linked to references, and schedule changes that hurt Samira and Gavin. Paige didn't just hear company news secondhand. She was involved in pushing the pressure. This proved what witnesses feared. It made the problem bigger than just a job dispute. Samira's work past, Gavin's future, the secret papers, the company ownership papers, the wedding money, Victor's report. Paige was in every part. I looked down and saw I'd written the same time 4 times. Elliot asked if I wanted a break. I said no too fast. The review finally showed the pressure was not an accident. Sitting with proof, I found that being right didn't stop my body from feeling like there was no air in the room. I couldn't keep calling it tiredness. The morning after the review, I sat with Ruth Kwan, my notes folded in my pocket like a sharp tool. She didn't ask if Paige had betrayed me or if Victor had used my seal. She placed one hand next to a blank legal pad and said, "What do you notice about your body right now?" "My heart is beating fast." "Anything else?" "The vent is loud. The chair feels solid. I know where the door is." "Do you agree to talk about what happened in the review?" That word, agree, made the room feel less strict. I told her how I lost parts of time while Elliot spoke. I said I wrote the same time 4 times, felt pressure in my jaw, and felt sure the air was gone even though everyone else seemed fine. Then I told her why I said no when Elliot asked for a break. Dean had spent years turning every mistake I made into proof that I was different, too sensitive, too slow, caring too much about small things no one else noticed. Paige used softer words but meant the same thing. If I needed help, I could not be trusted with power. I thought saying yes would give them proof, I said. Ruth wrote something down. I note symptoms and what help is needed. I don't decide if someone committed fraud, if the author is real, or if they're fit for field work. That last question came from Corinne Ames. Her office smelled a little like cleaner and warm printer plastic. She looked over my file, checked the referral, and asked me to explain normal work choices at a desk, when to stop, when to pass the job to someone else, and what I did when I lost focus. I answered correctly. But that didn't get me the answer I wanted. "Starting today," Corinne said, "no leading tasks, no working alone on important jobs, and no safety-related field work until we check again." My stomach sank deeper than during the tests. "But I'm already suspended." "This is separate from the credential suspension. I'm looking at how you're working now, not who used your credentials." "How long will this last?" "I can't give a date. We'll see how you improve and handle tasks." There it was again, a professional note with my name next to a limit. Paige and Dean had always called limits a nicer word for flaws. Corinne must have seen something cross my face. "This doesn't say you're dishonest," she said. "It just tells what work I can approve today." Ruth's notes had started care without touching the credential issue. Corinne's decision took away lead work but didn't say I couldn't do every part of the job. That difference mattered, even if it still cost me. I signed the form because the limits were true. Outside, I stood with my hand on the cold railing, feeling old shame pushing me to hide the whole visit. But this time, I let the proof matter more. Ruth joined the call about recovery planning for a moment and asked, "What help will you take today?" "Temporary money help," I said. "No changes to my schedule. No one checking my messages." June sat across from me at her kitchen table with a calculator, 2 pens, and the metal thermos she had brought me the first night. The lid clicked as it cooled. Ruth confirmed I wanted June there, reminded us that treatment information was mine to share, and ended the call. June looked at the spreadsheet between us. "Do you want company tonight or quiet house?" "Quiet." "Okay." I waited for her to correct me, for the argument, for the older sister version of Corinne's limits, pushing so far I'd need permission to buy gas or leave the house. June capped 1 pen. "Do you want me to check on you in the morning?" "No supervision." "Then I won't check in unless you ask." Her answer felt strange. Saying no usually led to a fight in my family. With Paige, it meant I was unstable. June just wrote down no regular check-ins. We worked through real numbers. Rent help, groceries, treatment costs, rides to the clinic, some money for credential review fees. "You can't keep paying all this," I said. "I know. I'm not asking for an endless favor. I'm not giving one." We agreed on a set loan, a fixed monthly amount, and a review date. I wouldn't start paying back until I earned above a certain level. June wouldn't have control over my care, evidence, or work choices. The plan was clear enough to breathe around. She poured coffee from the thermos and pushed the cup partway across the table. "Want some?" I said yes. No words followed. No reminders of how she had helped me. Just the soft click of the lid going back on. That's when sadness hit me. I'd spent months refusing Paige's private talks while trying to keep things working between us. Part of me still remembered the life we had before the tower, the paths we walked together, her boots next to mine, the wedding invitations waiting in a box we had already paid for. "I missed someone who might not have been real," I said. June didn't tell me that Paige never really loved me. She couldn't be sure of that. She also didn't say that one kind act or apology could bring me back. "You can miss what you thought you had," she said. "What do you want me to do with that?" "Nothing. Just stay for 5 minutes. She stayed. When the 5 minutes were over, she asked if I wanted 5 more. I did not. June stood up, took her calculator, and left the thermos behind. Her care stayed there even after I said no. That was new proof, and I accepted it. Paige's message came through the usual channel at 7:03 a.m. I have your personal field notebook. It will be in the document locker until noon. This transfer does not include company files, equipment, or any agreement about disputed records. No apology, no request to talk, no explanation for why she kept it after closing my access. I replied with one sentence, saying I had picked it up. The locker was in the lobby of Tessa's building, under a security camera used for regular document control. I entered the code Paige sent and opened a gray metal box. My notebook was inside a clear protective sleeve. The cover was worn from truck rides, tower work, and one accidental spill of coffee at a gas station. A faded orange tape marked the spine. I had written my name under it years ago, before my signature became something others could use against me. A custody slip showed Paige had placed it there. The note said, "Personal property returned without agreement." I signed only to confirm I had received it. Back at June's work table, I took pictures of the sealed notebook and opened the sleeve. The pages smelled like dust and machine oil. My handwriting shifted from neat measurements to small notes in the margins, depending on the weather and how much space I had inside a tower cabin. The notebook held no magic answers. It didn't say who first created the training papers. It couldn't prove what Paige had said to Victor in talks no one had recorded fairly. It didn't bring back the company files or the credential device. But it contained my own short notes for provider courses, equipment lists, and the order I used when checking reports. These notes could help me know which claims should be included in the credential file and which went beyond what I actually knew. For a few seconds, the return felt like Paige reaching out to me. She understood what the notebook meant. She had seen me carry it through many contracts. She had once bought pencils in the same style I liked and teased me for caring about that. My mind tried to see the locker deposit as a kind act. Then I looked at the slip. Personal property returned. Company property kept. No agreement. That was the act. Everything else was what I read into it. I sent Paige a message saying I got the notebook in good condition. I did not thank her or ask why she sent it now. I did not try to contact her again or offer to share my notes. A kind act could stay kind without meaning forgiveness. I placed the notebook next to the official files and started marking the pages Quentin would need. The line held, and so did the proof. Quentin Shaw introduced himself by sorting out the issues I had been mixing together. "The Credential Forum can look at fraud, misuse, and your token control duties," he said. "It can't give back pay to Samira or Gavin. It can't decide if Paige truly planned to marry you. It can't settle the LLC." He wore wireframe glasses and worked as a trade credential advocate in an office above a machine supply shop. I had come ready to show him the statement I wanted to share publicly. It named Victor, Paige, the planned secret, the pressure campaign, the missed retest, and the false records. All in one clear complaint. Quentin read the first page, then pushed it away. "Don't publish this. It's true. Some parts are being handled in different places. Some parts are only clues about motives. Some parts belong to witnesses who control what they say. Truth needs a clear scope." He drew 5 columns on a yellow pad. Claim, source, custodian, limitation, signer. The first row was about my physical location. My own records and the team's log backed it up. The second row was about the credential device. Samira said Paige gave Victor the numbered pouch, but she didn't see him seal it. Iris Chen's official reports showed the timing of the transfer and who had custody, but not every single person who touched the device. Dev Shah's updated analysis compared timing and report versions. It didn't prove Victor was at one terminal just from the metadata. Gavin's saved notes showed the missed retest and unusual blade response, but didn't prove how serious the blade problem was. The full credential timeline linked Victor to the false report. Paige's transfer and pressure made that chain stronger, but the secret event was not needed to decide who wrote the report. Then Quentin added a row with my name. Backup token control. Not enough. I stared at it longer than the others. If I admit that, they'll lower my grade. They might lower it whether you admit it or not. So I prove Victor used my credential and still lose status. You can be cleared of meaning to cheat, but still be responsible for not keeping control. Those facts don't cancel each other. I hated hearing that because it wasn't the kind of proof I wanted. It left some blame on me, but it was true. We made the new report from confirmed timing, custody, location, report versions, and clear limits. Samira and Gavin's statements stayed theirs. Iris's reports kept her certification. Dev added his careful language. Paige and Victor were named only where the record showed them. I signed what I personally could confirm. Quentin wouldn't let me sign for anyone else. When the package went to Elliot, it was smaller than my first report and harder to argue against. It didn't ask for fixing my career, relationship, money, and reputation all at once. It only asked one fair question. Who wrote the false report, and what part was really mine? For the first time, I could accept that the honest answer might clear my name, even if it didn't give me back everything. Corinne Ames started my reassessment by placing a broken practice panel on the clinic bench. "Show me how you'd handle this task," she said. "We're judging your process focus and when you decide to stop, not how fast you go." The panel wasn't from a working turbine, and nothing I did would go into a real record. That made it safe to test and sharp enough to bring out every old worry inside me. I wanted to prove skill to her. Finish fast. Make the limits seem unimportant. Instead, I read the work card out loud. I pointed out the limits of the test and set up the allowed tools. When Corinne asked a question, I stopped and didn't try to work and answer at the same time. My heart rate rose. The fluorescent light in the room seemed very bright. For a moment, her rolling chair felt too far, and the room felt smaller around the bench. "What do we have here?" she asked. "A practice panel. Ground-level room. You're watching." "I can stop." "Do you need to?" I put both hands flat on the bench and waited until I felt its cool surface under my palms. "Not yet." I finished the inspection steps, marking only the parts I had checked. Then I explained which parts needed a different tool or someone else with more skill. Corinne wrote down the pauses I took and the right choices I made. Next came the ground-level practice. I carried a small case of tools over a rough outdoor area. I went over a fake site boundary and gave spoken stop work instructions, but I didn't take charge. No ladder, no harness, no showing off that I wasn't afraid of heights. Back inside, Corinne read her notes. "You kept your attention well for bench and ground tasks," she said. "You saw the signs and stopped at the right time without losing control of the task." I waited. "I'm clearing you for limited field work." Her words made my chest feel tight before she finished. "No solo work on raised surfaces," she added. "No leading assignments. No authority to approve something others disagree with. You can do ground-level checks, help under clear instructions, look over technical papers, and prepare advice that fits your skills." "So, I'm not really back? You're cleared for tasks you showed you can do? I'm not approving work I didn't see you do." I nearly laughed, but humor felt locked away. Corinne had used my own rules against me. The permission didn't give me my old job back. It couldn't undo the pause on my certification or promise I would lead another blade check. Everyone could see the limits. Still, visible limits weren't shame. I left with a signed note confirming what I could do. It didn't erase the past, but it gave me a small space to stand. Elliot's notice said they had enough to decide unless someone raised a strong objection by Friday. For most of Thursday, I let myself hope a decision was coming. At 4:41 p.m., Tessa Briggs filed an objection. Her cover letter was short, only 2 pages. The attached papers caused the real problem. They were the same training acknowledgments Paige had shown after I lost access to the LLC, now used as the company's formal defense. Tessa's filing said I had knowingly allowed others to share my credential under supervision. Victor's statement called this a normal delegation. Paige declared she kept the acknowledgments in her role and believed they had my consent. If those signatures were accepted, the whole story changed. Victor's use could be seen as allowed, not unauthorized. My mistake in not securing the backup token would no longer be just carelessness. It would look like a system I had accepted, then later denied. Elliot held a quick review the next morning. "The main issue is narrow," he said. "Before I decide who is responsible, I must check if these acknowledgments are real proof of delegation." "They aren't," I said. "I know your position. What can you prove?" "I never went to those sessions. I never signed those forms." "That is part of the evidence. The records filed also claim to have your signature. I need original proof or a verified match." Dev joined by call and repeated his limits before anyone could raise his work unfairly. "The timestamps and course order don't match the lists I saw before," he said. "That calls for deeper check. But that alone doesn't show who made those documents or if every signature is false." Tessa's voice stayed calm. The company only asked that the acknowledgments be checked before deciding if Mr. Hale had permission. She had found the exact place to put them. Not in a settlement offer I could refuse, not in Page's unsupported message, but inside the credential record where ignoring them could make Elliot's decision weak. Elliot stopped the authorship decision. I felt my body react before my mind could. Warmth spread in my neck. The filing window on my screen grew blurry at the edges, and I heard Dean's old judgment waiting for me. Careless enough to sign anything, confused enough to forget. I stood firm and named what was really there. 6 disputed acknowledgments. A company claim, my denial, Dev's limited mismatch finding, a missing original custodian record. These documents were not a decision. They showed a new proof problem. I told Elliot I would try to find the provider's original list, attendance order, and saved copy. I asked that the pause keep every objection already in the record. It will, he said. The ruling moved away again, but the honest answer stayed the same. Somewhere outside Page's files and Victor's statement, the original instructor record either supported those sessions, or it did not. That was the record we needed next. I made the first cancellation call with Page's field notebook open next to me and our wedding confirmation number written on a scrap of paper. The coordinator asked if I wanted to postpone instead. No, cancel it. She went over the lost deposit, the vendor costs, and the date after which nothing could be saved. Each amount turned grief into simple money matters. I approved the cancellation anyway. The next 2 calls were easier only because the losses were smaller. Marcus sent a message through the preserved channel before I was done. He wanted direct contact to talk about the deposits, Page, and what he called my treatment situation. I replied in writing. The contracts were canceled. Money questions should go through the official LLC channel. He would not get direct contact while I was stabilizing my situation. Page's name left the reservation before it left my thoughts. That was the hard difference between final decisions on paper and final feelings in the heart. A contract took one clear instruction. My body still expected her key in June's door. Felix Dunn's email came while I was adding up cancellation fees. The subject line said, Shop Roll, exclusions attached. The job description did not include credential sign-off, lead inspection authority, or any claim that my suspended seal belonged to his company. The allowed work was bench evaluation, composite preparation, tool control, and ground-level technical help under supervision. It was less than the job I had built. But it was the first offer in months that didn't ask me to pretend about what I could do. I accepted the interview. That afternoon, Leah Mora joined the training file review and said who she was by the disputed session date. I'm the roster keeper for that course, she told Elliot. I can confirm attendance and instructor records. I don't know who made the company's acknowledgments. She showed the saved roster next to the forms Tessa had filed for Page and Victor. The real course had a different attendance order, a different instructor sequence, and no record of me. Its saved copy had been kept using the provider's usual process, with a witness to the extraction. You never attended these sessions, Leah said. You didn't sign any acknowledgement in my course. Years before, when Leah was blamed for a supervisor's bad instruction, I refused to let her evaluation record carry his mistake. I thought that level of accuracy was normal. Now she was risking her teacher's standing just to get it back. Tessa said that the official list did not yet prove who made the forms in question. Leah agreed. I'm just showing what my records have, she said, and what they don't. That limit actually made her proof stronger. Elliot started the review again to compare. The wedding was gone, my old position was still out of reach, and Felix's small shop interview was the only honest job offer I had. For once, being smaller didn't mean less true. Felix's shop smelled like mixed materials, machine oil, and strong coffee. He met me by a scratched steel table with 2 copies of the same report I had already read. The tasks you can't do are on page 2, he said. Signing off on work, leading inspections, working alone at heights, and representing the company to clients. You missed one, I said. I looked again. Helping in an emergency in any of those roles. Felix nodded. No one gets to make up an emergency and say your limits don't count. His words sounded practiced, which made me watchful. Kindness often came with hidden rules. It told you how brave you were while quietly keeping you from reaching for tools. Felix didn't tell me I was brave. He put a small sample object under a work light and asked how I would note a repair area I hadn't prepared myself. I wouldn't say I prepared it, I said. I would start my notes from when I checked and accepted the condition. What if the client wants one name? They can want two. He looked at me for a moment, then slid the job offer across the table. The hourly pay was less than before. The authority was less too. Both were clearly stated. A shop phone rang behind him. Someone answered, listened, and passed the phone over. Felix took the call a few steps away, but didn't lower his voice enough to hide the news. A client had found out he planned to hire me and canceled a planned project rather than risk working with me because of my questioned status. When Felix came back, he crossed that project off the schedule on the wall. "This is where you change your mind," I said. "No, this is where I change the workload." "You just lost a client." "I saw. They were clear about it." He did not act like losing the client was a good thing or was easy. That honesty meant more than empty words. The side door opened, and Omar came in with the gloves he'd lent me months before. He dropped them next to the job offer. "Figured you'd run out of reasons not to give these back," he said. "They're yours. Then take good care of them when you use them." Old feelings came up fast. They thought I couldn't afford gear, couldn't work without watching, couldn't be trusted with my own hands. Then I looked again at the facts. Omar didn't want control or credit. Felix wrote my limits openly, not hiding them. A client had walked away, and the offer was still there. I put on the gloves. They fit like I remembered. "Just borrowing?" I said. "Sure, I'll warn the glove team." It wasn't a real joke, but it was the first one I'd heard in a long time. I signed Felix's offer under the list of things I couldn't do. The work was smaller, delicate, and real. So was my yes. Elliot looked over the proof again, asking the question that had stopped us before. "Do the notes show that Caleb allowed others to use his credential?" Leah spoke first. "My records show he didn't attend the sessions listed on those forms. They don't show who filled them out." She then showed us the original list, the order of attendance, who the teachers were, and the copy from the archive. The contested acknowledgments used names from a different course and were arranged in a way that never happened in Leah's class. Dev then shared his updated confidence statement. "My analysis looks at the timing and structure of the files," he said. "It does not identify a person from the document details." He placed the company forms next to Leah's archived records. The acknowledgments were created after Paige lost my LLC access and after Tessa started the formal settlement process. Their layout came from a different course template, including an old course code and an instructor field copied from that program. Next, Dev showed the signature layer. The image shown as my signature had been added to the later files. It could not have been put there by me during the claimed sessions because those sessions didn't actually happen. And the files themselves didn't exist until after the dispute began. The room became quiet. Tessa spoke from the company line. "Are you saying Paige Larkin or Victor Hale made these documents?" "No," Dev replied. "The data doesn't support who created the first draft." Victor had said the acknowledgments were routine. Paige said she kept them as routing records. Neither claim could change the fact that these files were made later and did not represent my agreement, but neither showed who actually made them. I wanted to name them both. My feelings made the answer clear, but legally clear answers were tricky. The same kind of problem that almost ruined my first submission. "What can you find out?" Elliot asked. Dev stayed calm. "These forms were made after the credential dispute, adapted from a different course, and could not have been signed by Caleb as claimed." Leah added, "My instructor records also show that he was not part of those sessions." Elliot entered these findings and reopened the authorship investigation. Tessa kept the company's objections, but stopped asking to treat the acknowledgments as valid permissions. Leah's training provider had warned her that disagreeing with a major client's report could affect her future instructor work. She submitted the archive anyway. "You didn't have to take that risk for me," I said after the review. "I owed the record the truth," she replied. "You taught me that when my own evaluation was at stake." The defense using delegation failed. I still had control of my token, but there had never been approval for Victor to use it. I left the review with proof that the documents were made up, but I still couldn't say who exactly had created them. Gavin called before the owner operations meeting and shared one fact he was willing to confirm. "The required retest didn't happen," he said. "I can support that with my original note. I just can't explain to Wes how bad the blade condition is." "That's all I'll hold you to," was the answer. "Good. Victor keeps calling it paperwork," Gavin replied. During the operations call, Wes Gant introduced himself while going over the schedule. I have a good weather window starting Tuesday morning, he said. If we miss it, production may be delayed another cycle. Victor responded in a calm way that made the situation sound like just routine office work. The missed retest was an office matter. The report is closed, and nothing in the current record says we need to stop work longer. I watched the turbine schedule appear on my screen. Crew arrival, control checks, recommissioning slot. The blade area Gavin had warned about was still unresolved. Elliot's timeline showed that Victor had removed the retest request before using my approval, but no independent check had looked at the blade's condition. This uncertainty was exactly why the turbine should not have been restarted. The report was closed using the wrong credentials, I said. The area in question wasn't checked properly. Wes stopped for a moment. I get that there's a problem with who wrote it. It's more than that, I said. Do you have a valid owner control notice? He asked. I looked through the papers Quentin and I had sent in. Credential objections, verified report history, preservation requests in the certification file. Not under that name. Then I don't have a contract reason to delay the production schedule. Victor stepped in without hesitation. There isn't one. Mr. Rusk is trying to turn a credential complaint into control of the operation. The old me would have argued and lost the chance. I forced myself to stay calm with Wes. What would count as valid? I'll have the contract details sent through the lawyers, he said. Until then, Tuesday stays on. The call ended, but the block on the recommissioning was still up. Outside Felix's shop, the afternoon wind moved dust along the fence and pressed against my jacket. It was normal wind, good for production, bad for holding things in place. A schedule didn't care if the old report was right or not. It only cared if the right authority had been called before the machine started moving again. I called Gavin back and told him the time was set. So proving Victor used your seal doesn't stop it? He asked. Seems like it doesn't. That was the part I hadn't understood. I had been trying to prove what happened before, thinking the truth would stop things now. It didn't. Wes was in control now. Victor had given him a current confirmation. Unless I found the exact owner's claim before Tuesday, the contested blade area would start working again under the same man who had erased its retest. Tessa's industry notice reached Felix's shop before the contract details came through. His office printer suddenly started and printed 3 pages with the company's legal heading. Victor had sent the notice to contractors, owner representatives, and service partners with clear instructions to pass it on through normal safety channels. The notice was carefully worded. It said my unauthorized credential had caused the problem report. It warned contractors not to rely on my technical information while the matter was still under review. It didn't repeat the forged delegation claim that Leah and Dev had just disproved. It didn't need to. The first complaint against me had passed through a broken radio chain, one mixed-up retelling after another. This notice came clearly written, professionally sent, but just as unfair. Felix read it once and put it on the table. 2 shops have asked if you're handling client materials here, he said. Tell them the official scope. I already did. And they asked again, louder this time. Omar picked up the notice with a gloved hand. Funny how Victor's name is all over these pages but never used as the one responsible. My phone buzzed. Leah had gotten a copy through her instructor network. She wrote that her archival confirmation was still valid and that she would only answer questions about the training records. Samira reached out to me through the consent channel. Are you going to use my statement publicly? She asked. No, not without your permission. I'm not giving it right now. Then I won't use it. Her refusal didn't weaken anything. It showed me where she drew the line. Frustration made my thoughts rush and cloud my judgment. I wrote a reply naming the trip, the device move, the backlash, the forged forms, Victor's report changes, and Paige's part in it all. Every true fact wanted to jump into one paragraph and break through the screen. Quentin called before I sent it. This notice is just public show, he said. Your reply should deny authorship. It couldn't decide the work dispute, the complaint about the job, how bad the problem was, or who was responsible. They told the team not to trust my technical report. I read it, so I should stay quiet. You should send a clear message. I deleted everything that needed someone else's secret words or a review that hadn't finished. What was left was short. I didn't write the distant inspection. The records the team sent couldn't be verified. The formal review was still waiting. My current work was limited by written rules. I saved the answer for the official review instead of sharing it right away. Felix taped my real scope next to the work schedule. Omar went back to his bench. No one came to support me, and calls kept coming. But Tessa and Victor had moved the blame to the public. I chose an answer small enough to be accepted. Next, I needed a plan to stop the turbine. Wes met Quentin and me in an owner's trailer near the turbine with the contract page ready. "This is about the operation," he said, "not about the credential fight." Quentin showed me the document. The contract clearly separated a challenge to a credential from a notice about a named defect. My files argued who sent the report and kept records inside Elliot's review. But they didn't make the owner take steps to protect the turbine. "What does do that?" I asked. "A notice that points out the unverified part and is backed by accepted technical records," Quentin said. "The person who sends it must also provide a bond." Wes tapped the next part. "Once a valid notice is accepted, I stop work on that area and pause restarting while the insurer sets how to check it. And if the notice isn't proven true, the bond covers certain costs," Quentin said. "In your position, that risk could wipe out your small business." There it was. Not a strong letter, not a loud claim, just a legal step linked to my last financial support. I hadn't chosen it. Before I could think more, Elliot joined a separate call to talk about the evidence. "The credential record already shows Victor removed the retest needed and used Caleb's seal to finish the report," he said. "But it doesn't decide current owner actions or how bad the problem is." Iris gave her certified export number and repeated her limit. "My records confirm report versions when they were accessed and system status," she said. "They don't say how the blade looks now." Wes added the owner's schedule and Victor's latest promise to the review. Victor had signed it after the timeline for credentials was set. He called the missing retest an office matter and pushed to restart the same blade area without new checks. Tessa's written reply tried to separate these ideas. "The old credential dispute doesn't stop the owner from making a current choice," she wrote. Quentin read that line twice. "She's right, the decisions are separate," he said. "That's what makes the new risk." Then I saw it. Victor wasn't just defending an old false report. With the missing test known and the area still unchecked, he was asking Wes now to restart it. The history, the current schedule, and Victor's new promise made one clear record in the present. Wes leaned back. "If I get a proper bonded notice, work stops while we review. Without that, the weather window stays open." Through the trailer window, the turbine stood pale against a clear blue sky. Tuesday's wind was already starting. The question of what's right now had a contract number, a filing rule, and a cost I might never get back. For the first time, I knew exactly how to stop recommissioning. I also knew what the switch might cost me. My public answer used 63 words. I shared it after Quentin checked the last sentence twice. I did not perform or create the inspection in question. Records that showed I gave my credential to someone else were not verified. The credential review is still ongoing. My current technical duties are clearly written and do not include the disputed signatory role. I will only discuss other issues through the proper official forums. Verified records should answer the remaining questions. No personal matters, no blame on Victor, no using Samira's name to make strangers believe me. The first replies said my response was unclear. I wanted to answer right away, but none of those people had the right to decide any fact. So I left my post just as it was. Quentin looked at the replies and closed his laptop. "The Credential Forum does not handle retaliation claims. The Labor Forum does not decide blade conditions. The insurer does not decide who planned trips with whom." "I know," I said. "Knowing this when angry is what matters." Natalie Boone joined the case with 2 complaint numbers and one clear question. Had Samira and Gavin lost assignments, pay, or their reputation after making reports that were protected by law? She met with them separately. Samira agreed to talk about her schedule changes and a letter she was sent to change her report. She would not answer questions about blade problems because she had not inspected that part. Gavin gave details about his work schedule and a message that linked better jobs to a changed statement. He only spoke about the missed retest and the reply he personally heard. Natalie didn't promise to solve the case when they first talked. "I don't decide the matter, who wrote the report, or the problem with the blade," she said. "I'm opening files on retaliation based on work records and timing." That sounded small until I remembered how long Victor had counted on no one asking that small question in the right place. Zoe Pritchard called next from the insurer. She introduced herself with the rule that mattered most. "Coverage isn't decided here," she said. "I can tell you what would start a preservation review." Her list needed a named blade area, verified records, the previous lockout status, a clear statement that showed facts separate from opinions, and proof that the filer's bond supported the notice. An objection won't stop recommissioning, she said, but a proper notice can. While we talked, Tessa sent draft settlement words asking if my credential failures caused all the reports, delays, disagreeing witnesses, and costs. She took my small admission that my backup control was weak and made it linked to every problem Victor wanted to hide. I sent it to Quentin without replying. My statement hadn't cleared my name. Natalie hadn't brought back a single shift. Zoe hadn't promised any money. But Samira and Gavin now had protected complaint numbers, and I had a list for the one filing that could save the blade. Then the tool owner called about my equipment. Hank Yates met Omar and me at the storage yard with a list clipped to a scratched metal board. The yard smelled like wet gravel and machine oil. Every time Hank lifted a case, a clean, empty spot appeared inside the locker. He did not mention Victor, my suspension, or the official industry notice. He began with serial numbers. Imaging case 317. I opened the locker. It's here. Hank checked the number and moved it toward his truck. The metal latches made a soft click as the case crossed a crack in the pavement. Tap set 642. Here. Portable scanner 219. Each answer took another item away from me. I had brought Omar to watch the list, not because I thought Hank would lie, but after seeing frozen invoices for months, I knew that simple transactions could turn into tricky proof once someone needed them. Omar took pictures of each serial number, then looked up when Hank said the next one. The cases had traveled with me through hot days, heavy rain, and rough roads that felt made to shake vehicles apart. I knew which latch got stuck in cold weather and which foam pocket was too tight by just a little. Their weight had once helped me go almost anywhere and have my own clear record to prove it. Now, their weight made Hank's truck sink into its springs. I need to take the kit through the review first, I said. After that, you can pick it up. Hank kept his finger on the line where balances were due. The lease doesn't let me do that, he said. I'm not asking you to forget the balance. You want me to give back equipment while you still owe money? He didn't sound pleased. That made it worse, in a quiet, grown-up way. Can I just rent the scanner for 2 days? Not in this deal. The last case clattered against the others. Hank closed the truck side door and gave me a copy of the list. Omar waited until Hank moved away. You wanted to check the area yourself, Omar said. Just from the ground. With equipment you don't have, at a place that didn't say I can inspect again? I looked at him. He raised one hand. That's not judging. It's the problem itself. He was right. Corinne's rules didn't allow solo work higher up and left the sign-off in question. The owner hadn't said I could take new measurements. Even if I borrowed someone's gear and got close, Victor could question my access before anyone accepted the result. Omar pointed at the list. The crew logs are still there. Gavin's first measurements are still there. The client's data doesn't disappear just because your cases are in Hank's truck. The truck drove away through the gate, carrying what I had built my career with. I stood there with a list of what was gone and, for the first time, stopped thinking I could fix this on my own. Samira reached out before the operations call and set her limits first. You can use my confirmation of the original lockout, she said. But don't say I checked the blade or found any problems. Got it. Gavin gave me matching limits from his side. He could confirm the missing retest, his saved readings, and the unusual result he had reported. He couldn't say how serious it was or guess what would happen. Their limits were only a problem if I wanted a big show. For a solid report, it was all I needed. The operations call started at 9. Wind blew through Wes Gant's microphone from the turbine site. We have a new weather window, he said. Recommissioning starts at 4 p.m. At 4, the weather looked good only for a short time before the wind blew too hard for the owner's rules. Victor had turned the weather into a closing door. I checked the calendar, hoping it might be wrong. The time was still days away. Victor's voice came through calm and clear. The crew is ready. There's no reason to waste the time. The insurance review isn't finished, I said. They haven't accepted the claim yet. Wes said Victor had pushed the request ahead, and the owner had accepted it since nothing was stopping them. The same weather that had once helped prove where I was during a previous issue was now Victor's deadline. Zoe joined in under the policy number. Normal complaints don't start preservation, she said. Neither does the ongoing credential case. So he can speed up the schedule faster than you can check it? I asked. He can ask for a new operating time. The owner can agree. I can only step in after something specific happens. Victor let out a slow breath near his microphone. There is no clear problem found. No, Zoe said. There's an area we haven't checked and a picture of an earlier locked-out state. But these are not final decisions. I opened the photo Samira and I took after the first stopped handoff. The lockout tag filled the screen, bright against the equipment with the time and ID still clear. Back then, it was just one fact among many. Now, it was the piece that linked a named notice to a real, kept condition. What happens if the notice and bond release come before 1600? Wes asked. Restarting stops, Zoe said. The area stays unchanged until the policy process is done. And if they don't come? The scheduled time stands. No one raised their voice. No one needed to. The call timer in the corner showed 11 minutes left, and the weather data showed the wind picking up as expected. Days had shrunk to hours. Victor believed I would need my tools, full clearance, or more time than the contract allowed. He was wrong about the first two. I didn't know yet if he was wrong about the last one. When the call ended, Paige's name appeared on the secure channel. She said she had a private way to save what I was about to lose. Her message started with the engagement, not the turbine. We can still save us, she wrote. I can return part of the company property and help restore your contractor status fast. Come to the service trailer before restarting. This needs one clean signature. For a few seconds, I saw the life she was offering, not just the words. My truck in the driveway, my cases back in their places. Paige at the kitchen counter with route maps open, talking like the private trip with Victor never happened. Work calls coming to me because my name meant something again. Hope was like that. It could rebuild a life before checking if the ground still belonged to you. That idea hit hard because it wasn't impossible. Paige knew which losses still hurt. She built her offer around every one of them. Quentin looked over the message in the secure channel. She hasn't shown the document, he said. She's offering help to restore you. She can offer anything, but you don't sign papers without knowing what they say. I'm going to see it. Keep the document channel open. I'm not deciding for you, Caleb. I'm telling you what keeps your options open. At the service trailer, Paige met me on the metal steps. The wind blew strands of her hair across her cheek. She pushed them back the way I'd seen her do many times before. This can end, she said softly. You can work again. We don't have to waste the engagement. What am I signing? Her eyes moved toward the trailer door. Tessa opened it and handed me a paper with the company's official letterhead. Victor stood behind her near the small conference table. The term cover everything on purpose, Tessa said. The paper said I was fully responsible for the false inspection, the missed retest, the disputed report, the industry notice, and all costs from the delayed restart. It said Samira and Gavin's complaints came from confusion I caused. It turned my failure to keep a backup token into agreement, authorship, technical error, and witness issues. Victor finally spoke. Sign it, drop the conflict, and I'll support bringing you back, Tessa said, pointing to the last page. Paige's return of company property and her offer to make peace were listed as conditions, along with the company's agreement on my contractor status. They hadn't offered any support. They had taken everything I still cared about, my work, tools, Paige, even my name in the trade, and tied it all to a statement that made my opinion seem worthless unless it matched theirs. Tessa had hinted at this plan when she tried to make me cover all resulting costs. Paige said it more openly but didn't explain. One clear signature. Clear for them, because every problem would fall on me. I didn't answer at the door. I took a picture of the papers through the secure channel, gave them back, and said I would return before the deadline. If I came back to that trailer, I needed to have the legal option with me. June cleared one side of her table and asked if I wanted company. Yes, I said, but don't touch the papers. She set down a thermos and sat across from me without reaching for anything. The printer slowly gave out one page after another, steady and uncaring. In the kitchen, the fridge stopped for a moment, and the whole house seemed quiet, waiting. Corinne's rules sat next to Zoe's checklist. No solo work at heights, no unclear sign-off, no work beyond what I was allowed under watch. The notice had to rely on records already legally approved. I couldn't make a late-night visit seem responsible just by saying it was urgent. Omar joined by video with the official crew log. I can confirm your location, the weather hold, and when the first handoff stopped, he said, but I can't confirm the condition of the far blade. That's all I need from you. Gavin sent the original measurements and called to point out the parts he recorded himself. His voice tightened when we got to the missing retest note. I saw the response and entered the requirement, he said. I didn't decide how serious it was. I wrote exactly that. Samira allowed me to use her lockout proof and her earlier timing statement. She didn't give me permission to go beyond that, so I didn't. Her evidence showed what she saw and when she warned me. It wasn't up to me to add to it. The client's records gave the report versions, seal time, and the unchanged identity of the questionable blade area. Omar's logs showed I was somewhere else. Gavin's measurements gave the technical reason for retesting. The photo tag showed the earlier lockout state. None of these facts alone could support the notice. But together, within their limits, they supported keeping things as they were. Hank called me back while I was putting the attachments together. The kit is still taken, he said. There's no plan to return it temporarily. I'm noting that I didn't use it. Then record the inventory date and receipt number. He gave them to me and ended the call. Another clear limit. I finished the defect notice without pretending I had done a new inspection. Then I opened the bond statement. Giving it up meant losing the last money backing my old signatory business. If the notice failed, that money would cover certain costs. Even if it worked, the bond wouldn't just come back. My old independent way ended when I confirmed the transfer. I thought about the risk twice. June watched me put my pen down. Want me to drive? No. Want me to come with you? I looked at the finished notice, bond release, and photo on my screen. No. But thanks for asking. Fear stayed with me. It didn't stop me. It just wasn't the one making the choice anymore. I put the notice in a plain folder and drove to the turbine, where Paige and Victor waited inside a closed trailer. The door shut behind me with a soft rubber sound. The room smelled like dust and old coffee. The walls seemed too close, making it clear no one could pretend to not understand what was happening. Victor sat at the table with the affidavit placed in front of an empty chair. Paige stood by a small window. Outside, the turbine turned the sunlight slowly, casting moving shadows across her face. 16 minutes, Victor said. Paige pushed a pen toward me. Caleb, please, we can handle the rest after you're working again. The ventilation fan ticked quietly every few seconds. I heard it because no one spoke while I read the last page of the paper one more time. It promised my job if I signed their version of the story. It promised Paige if I agreed that Samira and Gavin had made mistakes or been dishonest. They called it a fix, as if my work and future were things they had rescued after I had caused damage. I saw the true meaning behind it. Real care could live even if I said no. June's did. Omar's did. Samira had risked her job without trying to control mine. This offer wanted me to make myself smaller, guilty, and uncertain for Paige to support me again. I didn't touch the pen. This isn't care, I said. It's disrespect with conditions. Paige flinched. Victor looked at the time. I set my folder down next to the affidavit. I didn't write that inspection report. I didn't remove the retest, and I won't sign something untrue just to get back what you helped take. I refuse to sign. Paige, this engagement is over. She looked at the folder. If you do this, you lose the bond. I know that. I sent the defect notice using the owner's website. The last screen clearly said I was giving up the bond with no chance to appeal or get it back. I confirmed it. Victor stood. You are ruining your career over an issue that can still be fixed. No, I'm just not putting my name on something I didn't check. The website gave me a filing number. I called Wes and told him. He checked the system, and Zoe joined the call with the policy file. Notice received, Wes said. Zoe confirmed the photo of the locked turbine, the blade named, the records supporting it, and the bond transfer were all correct. The preservation rule is now active, she said. No restarting the machine, no changes to the area until an outside check is done. Outside, an alarm beeped once, then went quiet. Wes's order spread over the operations channel. The restart was removed from the schedule. Victor's plan to move responsibility had failed. The blade would stay under the care of those allowed to decide its condition. Samira and Gavin's reports would not be erased by my signature. Paige took off her ring and closed her hand around it. I felt the loss of her, the money, and my full-standing job all at once. None of it felt right. It only felt like a choice I had made. On my phone, the system took the last file with a sharp click. The turbine stayed locked while Zoe set up the outside check under the policy. Wes treated the blade like important evidence, not trash. Controlled access, careful handling, and no changes before the examiners finished. I was not allowed to be part of it. For once, being left out felt like it was meant to be. 3 days later, the removed blade arrived at Sadie Barlow's repair shop. Her benches were clean and simple, each work area marked with tape and labeled with the name of who checked it. My name appeared only as an observer. Sadie studied the images and surface map before letting me get close to the bench. "You're here because your notice kept this safe," she said. "You're not here as the person who signed it." Understood. She gave me a copy of the map and asked what I saw. I followed the point where the response changed, but stopped before saying why. She watched my hand more than my face. Victor joined us over video. He called the issue small and said missing the retest didn't change the repair plan. Zoe interrupted him. "Preserving and checking the item is important. That doesn't excuse missing a step." Wes confirmed the owner's records would show the retest should have been done before closing the case. Victor's video froze. His microphone went silent, and the review went ahead without his consent. Samira came in for a short time to check and confirm the original locked state. She wouldn't talk about the physical condition because she hadn't looked at it. Gavin pointed out his note and the strange response he had recorded, then stopped at the same place. "I knew it needed a closer look," he said, "but I didn't know what we'd find." The final decision was said in plain, simple words. The retest was required but was not done. The section had a mixed problem that needed careful repair before it could be used again. It could be fixed. There was no sign of serious damage, intentional damage, or danger of sudden failure. At first, relief came. No one was at risk of a disaster. Then came sadness. I had given up my bond, my promise, and my last clean chance to return to my old work just to keep a defect that could be fixed in a shop. The real truth didn't make the cost seem fair. Sadie marked the repair area and gave the part to her team. "You were right to stop it," she said, "but that doesn't mean you get your old power back." "I know." She tapped the duplicate map. "Good, then show me what you can do with the power you still have." The blade went into controlled repair, and I took my place at Sadie's bench, where my skill could be tested without anyone pretending it would bring back what I lost. Elliot's decision came on a Tuesday morning while I sat in Felix's office sorting parts invoices. The file opened slowly, and I imagined 3 different endings before I saw the first page. Quentin joined by phone. He didn't ask if I was ready. Being ready had not mattered for months. Elliot's summary started with the exact question his group could decide. Did I intentionally use or allow my seal on the remote inspection? The answer was no. I read that sentence twice, then a third time without understanding it better. The decision trusted the location records from Omar, Samira's short transfer report, Iris's custody exports, Gavin's first note, and the verified report history. It found that Victor's custody and editing steps explained the unauthorized seal use. Page's move of the backup device was part of what was proven. The false training records were rejected. Elliot's recorded explanation came after the written decision. "This decision clears Mr. Rusk of intentional fraud and knowingly letting others handle his seal," he said. "It does not cover civil damages, job issues, personal relationships, or insurance claims." Then came the part I had kept thinking over in my head. My backup token had been kept in a case Page could access for routing work. I hadn't kept proper control, inventory checks, or timely verification. Her transfer wasn't allowed, but my security mistake made it possible. My credential level was permanently lowered. The old job level had allowed me to lead inspections, sign important papers, and bid for work on my own. Work that paid enough to keep a truck, equipment, insurance, and a small business running. The lower job level didn't allow that. Felix and Sadie could hire me for certain tasks, but I couldn't rebuild my career under a different company. Quentin stayed quiet for a moment. Then he said, "They cleared you of what you didn't do. They blamed you for what you didn't control. That's not a contradiction." "I know." Knowing did not stop my hands from shaking. Victor's behavior was set for review and possible penalties. Paige got the decision because her job change was part of the chain of responsibility, but Elliot faced no action about the planned relationship or our engagement. Those matters were dealt with elsewhere. I wanted one paper that would give me back everything: my name, job level, money, and the years I had worked to earn the trust to sign off on work. Instead, I only got my name back with a permanent limit added to it. I printed the decision and put it next to Felix's written job outline. One paper showed I hadn't done anything wrong. The other showed how much of my old life was still off limits. "I accept the security finding," I told Quentin. "But I don't accept blaming Victor." "That," he said, "is what we fought for." I closed the office door and sat alone until the feelings of being right and being lost didn't feel like they had to take turns. Natalie Boone called about 2 labor complaints, one for Samira and one for Gavin. She reminded me, before anyone else joined, that I was only there because both of them agreed. "This decision is about punishment after speaking up," she said. "It does not decide who wrote official papers, the tool problem, or any personal relationships." Samira joined first. Gavin came on from a break room where a fan was rattling behind him. Leah wasn't on the call, but Natalie said Leah's statement supported the timing of the reference pressure. The finding was clear and limited. Work schedules showed Samira's preferred shifts stopped right after she refused to take back her safety report. Drafts and transfer records showed the same pattern for Gavin after he kept notes on missed retests. Victor's explanations didn't match normal scheduling or the dates of their reports. Natalie confirmed the punishment was unfair. She said the negative marks must be removed from their work files, their right to normal assignments restored, and limited pay given for hours lost that could be counted. The work limits related to Victor's control were lifted. His power over their schedules was taken away while the company did its own separate review. Samira let out a breath near the microphone. "Does the fixed record say I refused unsafe work?" she asked. "It says you made a protected safety report and refused to change your first-hand statement," Natalie said. "Good. That's what I wanted it to say." Gavin was quiet for longer. "The teams I missed are gone," he said. "Those were hours toward better work." Natalie gave a firm answer. "The order can't bring back lost experience. It fixes the record and pays only for the hours we can prove you lost." "Okay," he said. "Make that clear, too." That sounded like something he'd learned from all of us. Or maybe he had known it before and had just been penalized for speaking up. Leah's statement was still accepted as separate proof by an instructor. It didn't make her my boss or mix her points with theirs. Her support showed what she personally saw in the training records and how the company's pressure affected people who spoke up. After the call, Samira sent me a message through our safe channel. She said my record was fixed. That was important. It wasn't everything, but it mattered. I replied, "Understood." I wanted to tell her she had saved my career, my reputation, and maybe the people at the site. But saying that would have made her part of my recovery story. She had lost chances because she told the truth. Gavin also lost chances. The small back payment didn't make up for those lost months. People had once trusted them because a group was allowed to trust them. That mattered, but it wasn't everything. Later that day, a message came through the safe channel from Paige's lawyer. She was ready to sign a clear restitution agreement and admit the facts. For the first time, I saw the word apology without feeling like it was a door I had to open. Tessa's allocation report arrived, showing more details than fairness really calls for. The civil meeting was online. Zoe joined for the insurance company, and Iris showed up just long enough to confirm the official data used for the loss calculations. She reminded everyone that these records only showed who had access, control, and the times involved. Not every private choice everyone made. Tessa took back the company's unsupported talk about my technical reliability. She also confirmed the results of Victor's reviews. He lost his supervisory role, his certification was suspended, and a part of the loss was officially given to him. That was responsibility. It wasn't a way to go back in time. The report also gave bigger shares of the loss to Paige and company interests. Zoe confirmed the insurance would cover the neutral review and the saved work. She denied part of my business loss claim because of the policy limits. The first frozen invoice showed up partway down the list. Months ago, it had felt like the first piece taken away from my life. Now only part of it could be recovered. My appeal costs weren't fully covered. The given-up bond stayed given up. Hank got some of the money owed to him, but other equipment debts remained. He sent a separate offer to talk about a smaller lease, matching my smaller work role. June sat beside me because I had asked her. She didn't speak for me or touch any papers. Marcus's demand for repayment was put after the fixed LLC debts. He protested in writing, but the accounting no longer treated his family money as more important than the losses Paige helped cause. Bryn confirmed the travel charges and nothing more. Her proof kept her safe from being wrongly blamed, and it was still useful. It didn't make us friends. Paige signed last. Her statement took responsibility for giving access to my credential device, helping organize pressure against Samira and Gavin, and using my route to hide her trip with Victor. She accepted the restitution she was assigned and agreed the work ended because of how she acted. "I'm sorry," she said through the safe channel. "I knew Victor wasn't allowed to have the device. I helped push people after they told the truth. I tried to make you take blame so I could keep the life I wanted." There was no fancy talk in it. That made it feel more honest. Then she asked, "Could we talk someday without lawyers or recording?" No. Her face tightened, but I kept going. "I accept that you told the truth. I accept the restitution. But neither of those things gives you a place with me. I'm not giving back trust, closeness, or the marriage." She nodded once. That was enough. After the meeting, I sent the first agreed payment to June. She checked the amount against our deal and asked if the plan still worked for me. "Yes," I said. Civil responsibility had finally taken shape, but it left me with debt, less income, unpaid expenses, and no real connection. Paige's apology was honest enough to accept, but not enough to build trust on. Facts could fix a record, but they could not force forgiveness. Months later, June asked if I wanted her and Maya in the kitchen when Dean came over. "For the start," I said. "After that, I'll let you know." Maya put a printed ledger next to my coffee. She had marked the original loan connected to Victor, the repayment date, and a document showing the balance was 0. "That's what the records show," she said. "Anything else is between you and him." June set a thermos near my elbow and sat at the far end of the table. She didn't tell me to be kind. Maya didn't warn me to be careful. Their choice not to guide my reaction felt like its own quiet understanding. Dean arrived right on time. He carried no notes in an envelope and no gift to make the moment feel softer. He placed the repayment document next to Maya's ledger. "The loan is paid in full," he said. Maya was right. He called me Caleb. That old nickname had never been spoken in the room before. I still noticed its absence the same way I used to hear it down the hall before he wanted to tease me. Dean kept both hands flat on the table. "I took money I should have told you about. I used Victor's words because it made my decision seem harmless. I pushed you to stay with Paige because I was scared of the debt and what people would think. I treated your judgment like it didn't matter." I waited for a sentence, starting with "but." It didn't come. "I'm sorry," he said. "I know paying it back doesn't fix what I did." "No," I said. "It doesn't." His jaw moved, but he nodded. I accepted the repayment. I accepted the apology. Neither hurt me, and neither meant the family was fixed. "My rules are direct contact only," I said. "Email first. No surprise visits. Don't use June or Maya to check on me where I work or if I'm ready to see you. If I don't answer, that doesn't mean you can ask through them." "All right. And no family pressure hidden as concern. If you disagree, say what you really know and what you really want." "All right," he said again. I looked at June and Maya. "You're done passing messages," June said. "Gladly." Maya closed the ledger. "I hope this debt would just go away." They left us alone at the table for 10 more minutes. Dean asked if he could send occasional emails. I told him he could send one and I would decide if I wanted to answer. He didn't ask for more. When he left, I didn't feel like I had my father back. I felt like he finally understood that being part of my life was not automatic. The next morning, I reported to Sadie's shop using my own name and with clear limits I had been told about. Before work started, Ruth asked her usual steadying question when my mind started to run away. "What can you know for sure right now?" I could know I was still in treatment. I could know I had debt. I could know needing help didn't make my choices any less mine. At Sadie's shop, Felix's work plan was on the bench clipboard. My allowed tasks were on the front. The duties I was not allowed were clearly listed below, not hidden somewhere else. Hank's lease inventory was behind it. The equipment was less than what he had taken before, and every item matched the work my limited skills allowed. The agreement didn't erase my debts. It gave me tools without pretending I had the freedom I hadn't earned. Sadie had marked the repaired blade area into separate sections to show who worked on what. Her team's work, my check, and her final approval each had its own place on the form. She handed me the tap hammer. "Don't look at yesterday's report yet," she said. "Tell me what the repair says today." Omar moved the work light over the spot. "Here? 2 inches closer to the back edge." He adjusted the light without taking over. The light spread across the fixed area, showing every small change on the surface. I started from outside the repair and moved inward, listening to how the sound changed under my hand. The shop had small background sounds: the fan, a cartwheel, someone setting down a cup, but they felt separate from the blade. Halfway through, Omar shifted his grip. "At least this tower stays level," I said. He chuckled quietly. Sadie didn't look up from her paper, but the corner of her mouth lifted just a little. Then we were quiet again. The unsure sound Gavin had mentioned months before was gone. Instead, there was a steady sound over the fixed part, changing only where the material told it should. I repeated the test. Sadie asked what I could confirm. I only spoke about the area I had checked, the conditions at the bench, and the limits of my mark. I didn't claim the entire blade or use her authority. I didn't treat confidence like proof. She compared my notes with the official repair record and slid the verification section toward me. My mark was smaller than the seal I used to have. It paid less. It couldn't restart a turbine or bring back the business I once built. My next meeting with Ruth was set. June's bill schedule was still taped inside my desk, and Hank still owned the tools I held. But none of that made the work false. Omar held the light steady while I signed only the part I had checked myself. Sadie added her own approval next to mine. I lifted the hammer and tapped once more. The repaired part answered with the clear, steady sound I trusted. If stories like mine are important to you, you can subscribe to Infidelity Director for more. What did you think of the choices Paige, Samira, my family, and I made when telling the truth came at a cost? Thanks for watching, and remember, a simple, honest life can hold more respect than any future built on lies.